And so this is home. I've done a bunch of voting up and down the intercoastal, and this is paradise. And so taking this job is a way to give back to me. It's my idea of public service. I've been practicing for over 34 years, so this for me is a great way to cap it out, and I'm thrilled to be here to do that. I am also honored to work with Mr. Johnson, who I know gives great advice to this board. And Kip and I have worked together, Representative Lamarga, on many things. And in him, this city has a fantastic representative and helper and advisor, leads us and does remarkable work tirelessly for this community. And so I will take up that mantle in your footsteps and lead in the same way. I'm available at any time. Call the city attorney's office. I'll answer questions. But this is the expert. I will refer to him on expert things. But I'm happy to get to know you all, and thank you for inviting me.
We thank you. You're welcome to leave if you want to hang around for a few minutes to listen. Bob Dunkel, just for what it's worth, there's nobody like Bob to us. And he could sit there shrug how unimportant he is. He makes this thing hum. So I'm sorry you're a modest guy, but I'm going to say, how about a hand for Bob Dunkel? He obviously does not deal well with that. So I do want to take a second to perhaps just recap a couple of things from last year for our city attorney. We closed out a great year. Would you put up slide 4? And one of the three, yes, you bet it's coming.
Wait, before we begin, can we do the approval of the minutes from the last meeting?
Approval of minutes. You're out of order.
Okay, I'm sorry. I actually was trying to cut and keep time here. We had a great meeting. We're going to talk about what we covered. I assume everybody's read. Does anybody have any issue whatsoever with the minutes of the last meeting?
You know how many sit-ups I had to do for that?
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from last
Motion
meeting?
to approve.
We have a
That's
second.
right. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. So this was how we closed out last year. And as we said, Sherry doesn't realize that Bob is a barbecue expert, as well as obviously extremely buff. And, you know, but it again goes to show you how seriously we don't take ourselves. Our humble leader, our number 5, please, our new Chief Waterways Officer. Number 5.
One on the left and one on the right.
So that is our Chief Waterways Officer, and that, by the way, is Santa. He's not on the payroll, but so Marco accomplished a tremendous amount for us last year. He took a role that didn't exist and absolutely just knocked it out of the park. Number 6, please. So this was our meeting last month. We had, again, lots of laughs. If you don't get it, it's okay. But again, the charge of this is to move forward and see what we can accomplish. If you put up number 7 real quickly, and if it's a problem, don't worry about it. So number 7, so my little grandson left here last month, and one thing he said to Santa was, "I want a Santa costume." So this is my little guy, and again, I bring it up because this is what we're here for. Thank you very much. Number 8, a recap from one of the things we accomplished. New speed restrictions on way for boaters on Intercoastal Waterway in Fort Lauderdale. There's a guy sitting to my right here that made this happen. That's you, and made it happen behind the scenes. This was less than 3 months from start to finish that young lady passed away, unfortunately, and Travis informed us that we have a speed ordinance. They're in the process of printing signs, etc. This is what caused it. I had a few folks reach out to me over the last couple of days and say, "Hey, we heard about the speed ordinance up on Sunrise to Open Park. We'd like to see it carried forward in Deerfield. We'd like to see it carried south to Sunrise." And the gentleman called me, I don't know if he's here, Enrico, if you're here, a gentleman named Enrico mentioned a pontoon boat came by and took out a swim ladder on the ICW. That's nonsense. So we're going to continue working on it, but the reason this big step happened and we were told it would never happen is because guys like this are making it happen behind the scenes. So again, kudos for that. So we're going to take a second, Chip. I'll let you speak for a second, but Chip has to be out of here in about 20 minutes. we're going to move the agenda around a little bit and kind of talk about what you see in front of you. And we started last year. This was the result of our January meeting. That whiteboard over there that says illegal discharge. Oh, wait a minute, I got this cool thing. So we have this whiteboard. We walked away from that, and with that, we created the whiteboard that guided us for the year. That would be number 3, please. Number 2, please, if you would. And so we use this whiteboard in front of many city meetings. This whiteboard in front of many city meetings. Okay, so you get up to? Okay, okay. So we use this whiteboard in many city meetings. We had discussions, if you recall, back at Lake Sylvia. Chip was involved in that. Anchorage limitation was a result of what the state had just concluded, so that was a huge help. Our dear friend Travis over there has told us, Travis, how many boats do we have as an issue in Lake Sylvia right now?
Probably about 4. I would say.
So, and none of the problem, or these are past 30 days?
That's a good thing.
Okay, so, but they've been regulating them, it's dropped dramatically. The results that we've seen because of the efforts of Travis and his team is truly amazing. Again, something else that happened because of people who just truly gave a shit. So what I'd love to do if I can is we took these whiteboard items. Chip, you want to just say hello for a quick second and then I can drag you into this conversation?
Sure.
You want to?
Sure, and I think I resemble a lot of the comments that Steve has made, that you guys have a lot of fun here. I don't take myself seriously, but I take what we get to do as public servants or volunteers in our community seriously. And if I could steal a minute of give a minute of my time, you get to work with people throughout this process, whether you are public safety or you're a volunteer in on this board or any other board or an employee of the city or staff. But I honestly can't tell you that after 25 or 26 years of knowing Sherry, that you guys couldn't have picked a better city attorney. And I know that I say that not just because Sherry's a friend and I think she's extremely capable. I say that because she also sat up on a dais for a period of time and was a mayor of a city here in Broward County and knows what it's like to be on that side. So I think she'll keep everybody honest at those commission meetings. But I'm very happy for Sherry and you here as well. And I'm not leaving to go to a fun party or anything. I'm going to an HOA meeting at Harbor Beach. So.
If you listen to Sherry at a city commission meeting, her depth of knowledge, her presentation, everything about it just blew me away when I first heard you. So that was one of the reasons I asked you to join us. So I really appreciate that. So I'm going to take a second here because Chip is here again. So we took the whiteboard. What I did is I took, some of you may have seen a couple of AI generated reports that Mr. Washington has shared with us and others. And from those and the bullet points, etc., we put together 3 whiteboards. And the idea was instead of sitting here and shooting the shit for 3 hours and trying to summarize it, we took what we left off last year, we added a few of the comments that were brought to our attention, and you have a little book in front of you that has each of those. We don't have to discuss them all. It's going to eat up a lot of time, but I do want to point out a few things. And I want to point out some of the things that we're going to work on. There's space to the side, guys, so we can make comments, because what I'm hoping we can do is work on these comments, send comments back to Andrew, because again, we simply don't have the time to do it. Focus on what's important to you. Now, I use that as an example for our friend Sam Mitchell down the end. Sam Mitchell's big, you don't have to hide because we're very proud of this. Sam Mitchell's big concern was, I'm going to show you my new laser pointer. Sam Mitchell's concern was the North Fork of the New River. So what over here, it's over here, Doc. So what are we going to do this year? We're going to hyper focus on the New River. And we have started to do so.
A field trip?
That's the good news. I'm going to tell you the bad news. We need your commissioner to respond to us. With all due respect, I reached out to Pam Beasley Pittman, Andrew, Lewis, Marco, and I spent a half a day up in that area. I've asked Commissioner Beasley Pittman if she would meet with us so we can explain what's going on. Also, what's going on in the park, like Delaware Park. I understand it's a county park, but I would be embarrassed if that was in my backyard. So I want you to know we're working on this, but I would ask you on your side, get your commissioner to reach out to us. We're going to work on this. We have a great team assembled. We know what our headwinds are, etc., and we're willing to again put the time in. So when Sam Mitchell said to us at the last meeting, what I'd like you guys to do is go up to the North Fork. We've been there, and many of us have. So we're going to move forward, but we need cooperation from the commissioner. I'll leave it at that. Other issues we're going to deal with. Our city attorney has that top one over here under education, execution, enforcement. Are we measuring from wet face, property line, or plat? We accomplished a lot last year. I know Bob is working on that. So we want to be able to make sure there's no confusion here. Commercial use of docks. We need to provide a place for our commercial guys to pull up and drop off. There's a consistent, we talk about living seawalls, illegal discharge. Safe to say we're working on it. There's two consistent themes that I'm suggesting this year, and it's the result of what I've taken away from the last 5.5 years. And that is one size does not fit all. And one of the items we're going to talk about later on, if we have a very narrow canal, the 30% or 25% rule may not apply. If we have an exceptionally wide canal, we have to look at that differently. So we say one size doesn't fit all, and Bob has been working on that. The other thing I talk about is responsible stewardship. Responsible stewardship is what Mr. Mitchell was doing down there with his backyard. How do we improve the water quality in our area? How do we improve the water quality? How do we make sure we will never get back? I would have been assured by Todd Haichu, we will never get back to swimming and dancing with dolphins as Mr. Duncan did growing up, but we could clean it up and we could stop polluting it further. So with that said, those are the things we're talking about working on. I would appreciate it if you want to grab a marker, by the way, you can go up and scribble after this room to the right. You can add, you can do whatever you want, but I really appreciate the effort from you guys. So with that said, I'm happy to move forward if anybody wants to talk about that further, but we have other business to get to. That's who we are, guys.
Mr. Chairman, if I may please, in all fairness to my commissioner, District 3, Pittman Bowes, I met with her on Monday evening in the district meeting, and she is on board with this Norfolk River issue 100%. But she is an exceptionally busy person, and I had to chase her down to get to speak with her Monday night. So, in all fairness to her, she's aware and she's on board.
So let me leave it at this. Every one of the guys at this table has a full-time job. I do this as a volunteer. I spend a lot of my time. If you tell me you need me somewhere at midnight, I'll be there at midnight. My phone works at 10 o'clock at night. Leave it at that, okay? Thank you. Let's work together. Okay. I'm very, very frustrated with that. With that said, Chip, let me just touch a couple things here. So again, we've talked about, I'm going to let Chip go. I'm sorry I'm all over the page, guys. There was a lot to accomplish. I want to acknowledge the support from both Chip, City Commissioners, Kel Williams, and so many others here that have pitched in and will continue to do so this year. We have the best board I have been on in 6 years. The addition of Courtney Day, the addition of Mr. Morley, and others who have joined recently have improved the quality of this board dramatically. So let's go forward this year with the understanding that we're going to make some serious changes. We're going to continue what we did last year, and I thank you all for joining us. And with that said, Chip, would you want to book, or if you want to
let me just throw a few things out there as we get ready to go up to Tallahassee next Tuesday, leaving actually Sunday evening as we start our legislative session. One of the couple of the things that are important to me in the city of Fort Lauderdale is not just policy that allows us to deal with anchoring and mooring and derelict vessels and things like that, but the funding that we as a city and as a county, Broward and Fort Lauderdale, send to Tallahassee and the, I would say, the unequal share we get back. So through the appropriations process, we've we've got different projects that I've worked on over the years, Breakers Avenue, Gulf Drive, other things. But the last year, and going to try to get it over the finish line this year, is some work with our fire chief and our fire rescue here in Fort Lauderdale for a fire boat and some funding for things like that. But I think one of the good things about having a legislature and having a big voice down here, especially with boards like the Marine Advisory Board, which I can only comment on what I've seen, and in the last 4 or 5 years that I've come at different times, you're extremely active. And then I see your work on the following Tuesday or whenever you're scheduled, whenever these items are scheduled for a city commission meeting, and there's rarely ever any question to how thorough the Marine Advisory Board votes were and things like that. So I take that as a fact that you spend a lot of your time there. Utilize so you have myself and Senator Osgood, Representative Campbell is another representative, has part of Fort Lauderdale, I believe. Representative Hillary Cassell might have a tiny bit of Fort Lauderdale, but certainly our job is not just to go up there and pass laws and optimistically try to lower your property taxes a little bit, but not so much that you can't run the city. But it is to look at certain projects like the fireboat or marine issues, and not everybody who goes up to Tallahassee from the other 119 districts throughout the state of Florida understands what it is to be out on their boat on a Sunday or a Saturday or in the canals, and not everybody understands. I mean, I'll go back and say that my dear friend who used to be the county administrator when we had the COVID pandemic didn't understand that every boat you can't fill them with 5-gallon gas tanks. You can get down at the gas station and put them in your pickup truck and utilize the boat ramps. People have boats behind their houses and things like that, and they have boats so big that you take all day and then probably blow yourself up in your SUV trying to put 5-gallon cans of gasoline in your 60-foot sport fish. But at the end of the day, not everybody who's up there passing laws and looking out for financial issues for the marine industries has and I'm not saying I'm an expert. I just go out there and try to cause a little trouble and follow the speed limits now. But it's important that we have people with experience. I'll leave with this. Working on a bill with a friend of mine who represents the Florida Keys up through Homestead in Florida City, and he has spent he's probably 72, 73. He coached and taught in the public school system in Monroe County, but he has spent every single day of his life on the water. And it's people like that who we need to say, all right, Representative Mooney, we need to talk about, why is this important? Why is that important? And so it's no wonder that it took a long time to get an anchoring and mooring ordinance, a law passed that was more than. And my predecessor, Jordan Wright, did something great on the Middle River, but that was just one small part of it. We figured out how to do it so that you can apply it to every county, and then within every county, take a recreational space set aside for cities, and then the city of Fort Lauderdale do what they needed to do. And with a little bit of your fine work and detail from some of the neighbors over there in Lake Sylvia, a lot of detail. But we got to the point where we can do these things. So I just appreciate that you all do what you do with your time, and I would argue for the base in the state legislature, we're all volunteers. But it's important that we put our time in, and as Steve said, and I think you do an amazing job. But those are the reasons why we do it. Yeah.
So let me real quickly. I got 5 minutes, and I'm going to. One of the things that Chip mentioned is Lake Sylvia and what Bob's efforts were, which happened right after the state had approved HB 481. I don't remember any, but so that was one of the strongest grassroots efforts I have seen. And again, it just goes to show you. We talk about it with the ICW. We talk about it with the pump house bill. Somewhere on the cover of that particular flyer I sent you is exactly this. I have discovered in life there are ways of getting almost anywhere you want to go if you really want to go. So, we wanted to slow boats down. Chip, we want to slow boats down. This is not a casual thing. We took it seriously. We want to save lives. So, again, this is what we're going to try to accomplish this year. A quick question while we have Chief Schultz there. We're going to back in the corner a little bit, Chip. Chief, what do you need for assets this year? I know Chip's working on a fireboat, and with due respect to you and your team, when I visited Travis in the area down there, we've got some inflatables that can use some responses. We've got engines that are $5,000–6,000 old. Where do you need money this year? Where we can help you?
So I think this is a reoccurring broken record theme from me. But years ago, the Chiefs reverted this unit, and we went to basically a day shift unit. So Travis knows that we've been on the same page with this. It's really my goal to make this at minimum 2-shift unit. In my view, and if you look at the calls that we have to defer to other agencies after they go out of service, to me, given the fact that we brag about how many waterways we have, we brag about being the Venice of America. The fact that we don't even have an evening shift ability to regularly patrol, we do because of the grant that we get, of course, and thanks for that. But that's my goal: personnel and boats. Obviously, we've been very lucky to get grants to assist with motor replacement, engine replacement, but this needs to be more of a regularly general funded initiative, especially for this city. So how that happens, we'll see. I know that there's going to be a lot of discussion. We start with next week. We have Tuesday our first goal setting, priority setting meeting with the city commission. And I'm sure the representative knows this. A lot of what is being discussed right now in local government is what may happen with property taxes. So attempting to put forward an initiative, because this would be a substantial initiative, to basically double the size of our marine unit is difficult. But I know that everyone knows that that's been one of my biggest initiatives. Is it's important for us to get there.
I think it's fascinating. We've talked about this many times before with Travis, as well as fire rescue, etc. We all assume that God forbid there's an emergency, that Travis is going to show up, that Chief Knowles is going to show up. It's a wing and a prayer to a great extent. And if it happens in the evening or happens in the weekend, I see you, Rhonda. Give me 1 second. We got a problem. So when you talk about additional personnel, again, I'd much prefer to see us be proactive versus reactive. How many people have to die? How many accidents have to happen before someone says, "Oh, we found the money"? So I think we're all on the same page. It's got to be frustrating for a guy like Chip because, again, this is his hometown. So there's nothing he won't do for us. We just gotta give him the support and do what we can. One of the things I've talked about with Travis is a staggered capital replacement program where instead of waiting for the useful life to be over, we can recycle an engine every 2 years, something like that, so it has some value in the resale market, and we're just automatically buying 1 or 2 motors every few years. So if that makes some sense, I'd love to get in front of you and share that with Chip as well.
Yes, that would be fantastic, and if we could get that before our procurement director and get that rolling, because as you know, some things don't roll as fast as we want them to sometimes, but that's a great idea.
So maybe we can get together and talk about that. It's safe to say I was kidding and saying I'm back in the Chip in the corner.
I'm just glad to find out my engine might last 5,000-6,000 hours. 1,000 was a lot.
Do the mechanics, but
let me share, because I don't want the chief or anybody else here. We're all in a situation where most are property owners, which means you pay property taxes. I'm not going to tell you any secrets because I don't have them. They don't give them to me. But knowing kind of what there was, the House and the Senate make up the legislature, and the governor's executive branch. Nobody, let me say this with all due respect to my colleagues, almost every, the vast majority of folks up there, it's different than Broward County, are on the same side of the political aisle, which means there's almost absolute, control. And when that happens, you kind of start losing control because you figure out ways to fight with each other. So the House had 7 House joint resolutions, which would be a property tax plan to lower property taxes on homesteaded ad valorem residents, leaving education, definitely public safety, trying to get into every other bill, fire safety, harmless. So when you hear from maybe the governor that we're going to get rid of property taxes, I don't know how you do that because none of these plans do that. They lower them at some level. But having said that, the Senate doesn't have a matching bill for all 7 of these. There is one bill that I'm aware of in the Senate, and it just refocuses on how the Homestead Act was done 50 years ago, 50 plus 60 years ago, and how it's not really kept up as the value of your home's gone up. The homestead exemption hasn't really kept up, so it's really meaningless without to leave aside the portability is a helpful thing, but it's not really doing its job. So that's what they're looking at. The governor just said there will be 2 special legislative sessions, which means I won't be home on March 13th. Well, I might be able to get a change of clothes, but in April there's going to be a session, possibly on congressional redistricting, and somewhere along the way the governor wants to do his own separate special session on property taxes. So I can't guarantee there will be anything that we're looking at in the House that will show up on the ballot in November. I can guarantee there'll be some focus on trying to lower property taxes, but to maybe put the chief at ease a little bit, and maybe the city manager and the county administrators, that there might be an effort to be more efficient with certain things, but I don't see them going away completely. And again, I'm just speaking on behalf of me.
So then quickly as well, so I'm going to work with the chief. We have sunshine laws here. We'll share what we can, obviously, through Andrew, etc. Chief Knowles is here from Fire Rescue. Similar issue. You obviously, Chip has tried very hard with the fire boat. What else do you guys need? How about what other assets you need?
No, one of the biggest things that we need right now, one of the challenges that we face, is that we're an adaptive response. So basically, if you picture Fireboat 49, which is a 36-foot vessel, and Fireboat 249, which is a 28-foot vessel, they're not staffed full time. So we take the units from Station 49, and if a Marine call comes in, those units have to go out of service, which is a fire truck, a ladder, and a rescue that services that area, the south end of the beach. You take them out of service and you put that staff and that personnel on fireboats. And it becomes a real challenge because the call volume that we have, the amount of training that's involved, we've evolved past adaptive response. City Miami Beach, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, City Miami Fire Rescue is all fully staffed. So when the guys show up to the firehouse, their fire truck is floating on the water. Basically, is what's going on, and we don't have that. I think for me personally, I serve the citizens. I want to give them every opportunity. I want to put the fire out and save somebody's life. And I feel like we're not giving them 100% with adaptive response, especially with us being, like Chief said, the Venice of America. And fortunately, our guys make things happen, and we try to do the best we can. But we're at a point now where we need 5 people staffed full-time, 24 hours a day. You know, we're not. It doesn't work. It's not practical, and we make it work.
So see above, see above. Yeah.
Money.
So it's money. I mean, it's what it comes down to. But I think what's fascinating, and we'll let Chip and Shari go for the time. But I think that as neighbors, one of the issues that Chip has or Shari, as people who live here, we assume again, if your kid falls off a dock, if there's a problem, somebody's going to be there. So we're talking about people who actually live here. It really brings home. We got to figure out how to work this, and it's safe to say if we can make it happen, Chip will. So let's give them the ammunition and see what we can do. Question, Doc. Anybody else? Rhonda, you got a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, my question is to the state rep. Where's the funding for Fort Lauderdale when it comes to the waterways, and why is it that we know that there's an issue with our waterway, our water quality, and with our department, our city that needs more funding, and it's not trickled down to us. You know, this is an ongoing problem, and I kind of like get overwhelmed. We get the same thing over and over again. That we don't have enough boats. We have to depend on other people. Then we have crises at night and we don't have our own staff. How is this city can be so big and we have people that represent us that can't produce the funding so that we can have the things that we need here? And I understand the city commission only has a limit and it's property taxes, everything's about taxes and how the money's trickled down. But I've been here a while and I keep hearing the same thing, we don't have enough money. How is that we have representatives, knowing that we have these issues when it comes to our waterways, our police, our fire, to service the city of Fort Lauderdale, which is quote unquote the Venice of America here for Fort Lauderdale, but yet we're not receiving the resources that we need. Help me understand that, because I get frustrated sitting here listening to the same thing over and over and over again.
So I did hear you mention water quality, water issues, as well as the public safety on the water. one of the issues, I think it was the first year I was up there, we had the multiple pipe failures, right? Wastewater, and what happened at the time is there was a very large fine assessed by the state, by DEP, and at the time the city manager Chris Lauderdale came up with one of your lobbyists, and we were able to work. Thankfully, at the time Shane Strom was the chief of staff of the governor, we were able to work that $1.8 million fine into all right, we're not going to just take your money because we'd rather you invest that into water quality. And at that point, they were allowed to reinvest that into the water treatment and water quality, so water cleanup, whether it was specifically marine related or just the water system here in the city. As far as other funding, there's 412 or so cities in the state of Florida. There's 67 counties.
Mhm.
Everyone has asked. We need to be to the point before about how can I help police and fire, or as well as other water quality issues with DEP grants and things like that. We have to come up with the best story of why we need it, right? Because everybody's going to. I will give you an example. Fire station is probably the best example of what every one of those 400 plus cities would ask for. We need a new fire station. We were not able to get one for decades. For example, in Lighthouse Point, finally bonded it out. They're not. Everybody's going to have that same ask. We've got to be creative and say, all right, well, they're not going to give us a fire station in Fort Lauderdale, but maybe they'll award us, if we have a good story of why we need it, additional funding for firefighters to staff a boat full time, or at least have that as an active asset. So I think it's having the right advocates up there. A lot of times it's having your police and fire come up and whether it's on Broward days or other times when there's an appropriation up there and meeting with. I'll give you a perfect example. The chief appropriations senator and the person in the Senate, the head of appropriations, is a retired firefighter and then fire chief from Clearwater. There is one of the cities I represent. The mayor is a fire battalion chief in Port Everglades. He came up and explained exactly why they needed firefighter to firefighter, what they needed and why they needed it. The same thing can be said about law enforcement and folks at whatever that person's position is. We have to go take the story to them and tell them why it's important. The state, for a state that's fiscally, we'll say sometimes use the term fiscally conservative, fiscally responsible. There's billions of dollars spent every year, approaching $2 to $3 billion in just member appropriations. That's separate from the DOT budget and other things where we get some waterway funds from and public safety funds, road safety funds, things like that. But it's really up to us as members. And so if you have a connection to Senator Osgood and Representative Campbell, who I work with directly, and I think Representative Rosenwald, I think, has part of it as well. I work with Senator Osgood on a lot of these because you have to have a senator and a representative to ask for money or to run a bill. So she can kind of share that we work together on a lot of things, whether it's housing or other things. But let's make that ask. I mean, we're past that point for this particular session because we're going in next week. But every year, as this is happening, we need to identify those priorities. And I know that the city commission and the government affairs team with Daphne Sainville do that, but we need to make sure that they hear it from the Marine Advisory Board. That's kind of how a couple of those things ended up on there. So just really, it's just communication.
So, Representative, just for a point, for the first time ever, the fire chief and I are coming up to Broward.
Okay.
And that's exactly why we're calling.
Excellent.
So guys, I see questions here. Unless they're really important to Chip, I'm going to ask if we table them, we can follow. I'm supposed to kick him out 10 minutes ago, and I got to be respectful. His wife's waiting.
I'll just make a quick statement. He can decide to think about it on his way out the door.
You do that.
All right. Thank you, Chip. Brett Robotsky.
Yes,
my question is, as the voting capital of the world, we like to call ourselves, Dennis of the United States, everybody who's building on the water is privatizing the building on the water. You used to be able to go in your boat to a restaurant, tie up and spend money and eat it there. Now they're charging you fees. We're starting to disincentivize using the waterway.
Right.
And I think you guys need to keep that in mind, whether it's laws for restaurants, rules for doing things. It used to be wonderful. I was born on Miami Beach. You can go to any restaurant by boat, go down to Miami, do whatever you want. Now everything has a fee attached to it. And I think you should be somewhat cognizant that the privatization of the public waterways are being taken over. Think about it.
So let me send Chip out. Let me send Sherry out. Now, first of all, I got to tell you. So Chip has gotten so many M&Ms for us. His wife Eileen said, "Do not send him home with M&Ms." So we now have this year's version. Is the diaper box. So Mr. Ian, Sherry gets a MAB hat, as does Chip. Because at this point he's a
right there.
member and the diaper jar. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Great friends. Great friends in the city. Really great friends. If anybody wants to move up, just stay where you are. But just seriously, if anybody wants to stretch out. So let's move forward. I apologize for taking a little additional time, but we have great friends here, guys. So and one of the things I talk about, by the way, I didn't mention when Chip was here, when we talk about, I think it's under education, etc., we have friends. We have Coast Guard. We have FWC. We have FDEP. We have all these various folks that have been supportive of us, and we just have to reach out to them. So we're going to rely on those relationships. With that said, let me move back to waterway crime and boating safety reports. How about you, Chief Knowles? Do you want to give us an update on how the last month was for you?
Yes, sir. It was very quiet. I'll make it quick. I know you're pressed for time. Fireboat 249 rescued a dog from a delinquent boat. They found the dog on a small dinghy next to the sailboat. The owner was in jail, so the guys took the dog home for back to the firehouse. One of the guys took it home for a couple of days until the guy got out of jail and returned the dog. That was pretty cool. Yeah. We ran a person on a disabled boat first thing in the morning, and then later on at 1 a.m. that person had chest pain. It was in Pompano. The boat was about a mile east of the inlet. The boat was also disabled. The person was transported to the dock by Rescue 11. We recently just had a boat taking on water at 200 Coconut Isle. They called fire rescue multiple times. We did go out once. I guess they didn't want to call Cito, so he didn't want to pay for the salvage cost. He called us another couple times, and he ended up leaving the vessel there and said he was going to try to relocate it. And I think it's still there as we speak.
We relocated for him.
Okay.
That's why Tony has it right now.
Perfect.
Well, you know what? That's a wonderful report because it sounds like nothing overly eventful. You know, we had Christmas. It's safe to say there were lots of people here, so that's great. That's
We
great.
had the boat show as well. There was a boat show, and that was a great event. So.
And Winterfest, etc., and the boat parade, which you got to Travis, and I know that there were some issues with the boat parade, but nobody got hurt, hopefully, and everything was okay. Thank you, got the floor.
So the main issues we've had in the month of December was we had 3 boats broken into and GPS is stolen. I will say this recently, that I've been in touch with some other agencies. This is a statewide problem, not just a Broward, Miami-Dade problem, statewide problem. These groups that come in and steal these government GPSs. I've been in touch with a few different agencies, and some of these agencies began an information sharing platform. So we're now information sharing about what we have going on and things like that. And I've looped in our detective bureau with that because they're really the investigative. When we come out, take the report, that kind of stuff, but they investigate it. So I looked in our detective bureau so they could be on there. So hopefully we can narrow in on these groups a little faster than in the past and make some arrests and that kind of thing. Also, one of the big things that we run into is if you talk to people out there, your friends, your neighbors, yourself, whoever has boats, and let them know if this were to happen, and hopefully it doesn't, please let us process your boat. Most of the people do not want us to process the boat because it makes a mess. It does, but it cleans up easy. Especially in fiberglass. It cleans up super easy, but it does make a little bit of a mess. But please, a lot of times that's the only way we can identify somebody is by processing it with fingerprint dust and things like that. So you have people out there that have had things taken or they're worried about it. You speak to them. Please let them if it happens to them, then please let us process. So anybody has any questions, hopefully next month, we'll have a PowerPoint about the anchorage, how we're working the anchorages. But if there's a question about that now, I'll be glad to answer.
I think that
Traps. That's the other end. Because I don't know if you have detectives assigned to your group to follow up, or people checking at, Facebook marketplaces and stuff for things that are for sale. Because I saw 2 GPSs recently, Garmin units on Facebook Marketplace.
Yes,
Well, somebody's checking.
They're regularly do that. Yeah.
Okay. What? They were a pretty good deal.
If they're registered, then you can't really sell them to a third party and like actively use them. It's a pretty complicated scheme that they have when they're stealing them, because you need to be able to get into them and deactivate the license
chip you pull out.
No.
where's that?
Oh, everywhere. All over.
Private house.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
As long as somebody's checked. I didn't know if you had a detective assigned
Yeah.
to your side.
Yes.
Okay. Just tell them to through bolt them.
Exhaustive.
Put them out. We saw some of those.
So they cut the whole square around it.
So Travis, this was primarily over 15th Street. I mean, it's not like
Yeah, in that area. Yeah. Well, they'll hit one area, and then move to another area, and then move to another area, and then move to another area.
They steal right in front of the police boats.
So Winterfest is cool. Nobody got hurt.
Yeah. Should give a couple of my cards.
Winterfest, good?
Excuse me?
Winterfest.
Winterfest was great. A few issues. No one got hurt or anything. Few issues I need to work out with those folks for Winterfest, but all good.
Thank you. I did get, it's interesting, so we thank Chief Knowles for filling in for Chad or Garrett, whoever particularly shows up here. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing comments with Chip. Our code enforcement officer, code compliance officer at Easton, had sent an email. I have no problem with the fact he was unable to make it for tonight's meeting. What I have a real problem with is his statement. Our boat is still down for maintenance, so there has been limited enforcement. I'm not sure how many meetings it's been, but it's at least 3, maybe 4, that little boat is down. And I don't understand it. I don't think it's a complicated boat. I don't know if it needs a motor or something here, but nobody needs to respond to this other than perhaps, let our city commissioners know code doesn't exist here. So when we talk about calling code, they're not coming out of water. So I don't know if anybody has thoughts on that, but am I wrong? We do not have a code boat?
I'll follow up with Portia on that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I spoke to them. That's not entirely accurate. The boat is in service in a limited capacity. They're not proactive right now because they are having issues with it, but they are responding to complaints. They are not proactively doing any cases currently. They have already reached out to the vendors to get the tube replaced on the boat. They're in the process of coordinating that. Holidays didn't help. Also, this was not budgeted for. It's their first time having to do repairs on the boat, so they didn't know what to expect, and they didn't have any money sitting around for it.
I think the point of this is that it's a really good point. We talk about the needs of the fire department and the police department. We also have a code compliance group here. We often say we'll call code without realizing that there's really nobody there. So it's something we do need to focus on. Safe to say.
Yeah. I'm really dismayed at to hear about funding issues that these gentlemen are having in their respective departments, especially in light of the fact that we just approved over $300 million on a new city hall.
$340 million.
$340 million. That's where it's at now.
So no disrespect to anybody, but the next bid was $250 million. My math says there's $94 million there, so that we could have used to buy a lot of other things. But that's not my position. What I do suggest,
but it trickles down.
Of course it does. And I'm suggesting that everybody here go reach out to your commissioners. We don't have a code boat that's on the water full time. Travis's team needs support. Chief Schultz made it very clear. Chief knows. I mean, I'm not trying to be short with this, but as our friend LaRonda said, we keep talking about the same shit and we're not making it happen. So let's get the assets our people need. Let's start focusing on this stuff. So thank you. I'm done venting now. So let's move to business, guys, if we can here. And again, Chief Schultz, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Knowles, Travis, you obviously know that you don't need to stay, but your presence is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. That's going to bring us to our first.
Mr. Chairman, on the record, I did speak with the chief just a second ago about his equipment, and his equipment have access to all of the waterways here in Fort Lauderdale. And as Sergeant O'Neill said, that his equipment cannot get under the Brown Boulevard Bridge there at Norfolk.
Right.
So he, I asked him, and on the record, I asked him to at least look at getting a craft that will be able to make its way through there for patrol.
So it's something that both, and it's for a variety of reasons. It's not just North Fork, it's getting under the railroad bridge. You can't get under the railroad bridge. We need assets up there. And Travis has made this very clear. Chief Schultz has made it clear. It's one of the reasons on that board somewhere is talking about the generous offer from the Kellys at Bradford Marine to say we could put a fireboat up there. If we need police assets, we have friends, guys. All we got to do is ask, and it's there. You know, so I suggest each of us reach out to the commissioners, talk about this meeting, and tell them we need help. As Chip Lamarca said, they're not boaters. I know John Herb's boats and a couple of the others are casual boaters, but they do not know the water we do. And the same way that our friend Sam Mitchell and Rhonda saying to us, go look to North Fork, get them up to the North Fork. Let them see what's going on. And let's function as a team. Okay. Still not the
It's a field trip. It's a field trip. Because you and I can go.
So
Naughty. Yeah, cold.
Now,
Goes on the naughty list.
give this to the chief.
All those M&Ms back.
So I'm going to take to the business side here. That's going to bring us to our first dock permit, which is 701 Cordova. I believe we have Eileen Gonzalez here, who is representing both 701 and the next one as well. Eileen, where is that?
This is 701.
Paper copies of the application.
You know what? So this is 701 Cordova. As they're queuing up the presentation, I don't know if anybody had a chance to see this. Take care, Pat. Beautiful spot. If you on first look, you're concerned about the bridge there. That is not an issue to us. Quiet location. I don't believe we have any letters of objection on this. We fully vetted it. There is a large vessel across the canal that does not seem to be a problem. So with that, if you are ready, dear, you got the floor.
Do I get a clicker or you guys just click it for me?
Just yell.
Okay, alright, sounds good. Alright, well, my name's Eileen Gonzalez, and I am here presenting for Karen and Anna Rose, which are the property owners. And this is an application for a new dock and a boat lift, private use of public property, specifically at 701 Cordova Road in Fort Lauderdale. Next slide. Okay. Alright, first slide
Touch
is
louder if you would, please.
Speak up.
Just a touch louder.
Yeah.
There's fans here and the computer.
No worries, it's a big room. Alright, so first slide is a GIS aerial survey, and this is provided to us by the city of Fort Lauderdale. So this shows the exact property from an aerial view, and you can see all of the adjacent properties, the size of the canal, and this canal frontage consists of city-owned seawall preceding the property. So this is a pretty simple project. It's just a dock and a boat lift. It's a 15K elevator boat lift and a new 7-foot, 4.5 inches by 75-foot marginal dock. And the maximum distance of the dock and the lift is 18 feet into the waterway. And then the next 3 slides are just engineered plans. So the first page is similar to the aerial view, so it shows the property in comparison to all of the adjacent roads and adjacent properties. And then this next slide shows how far it goes into the property, into the waterway. So you can see that the dock is not going any more than 8 feet waterwards from the existing seawall, and that the boat lift is within that 25% waterway projection. So everything is per code. And then next slide, framing plan, you can just see the side profile, pile spacings, all the piles are spaced 10 feet apart here. And again, pretty simple project, elevator boat lift, 2 piles are going in for it. And yeah, that's essentially it's very Very simple, standard project for the city of Fort Lauderdale.
So thank you. This is before I open up the questions, guys, so this is what we refer to as a typical Cordova Road issue. As you recall, many of you have been heard many of these. When the seawall was replaced, each of the residents has to essentially reapply because if you notice, going out 18 feet really would not generally involve us. So rather straightforward. I'm going to open up to the board for any questions, please. Anybody whatsoever, any issues, please understanding document.
Just north. Is there another house there?
No, it should just be one property.
Oh, right here. This part. That's not a house, right?
Not this.
This is the house we're talking about. But this one isn't
No,
the house.
Sir.
Right. This is the house we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Is this a house? And wouldn't they have some piece of land? That's a
They
house.
do.
What?
They do.
Yeah. So
They
they
do
would
have
have
one, but-
some spacing
Are
there.
you talking about
Right
that's 621 Cordova, right
That's
next to the bridge? They have a very short distance that they can use because the setback from the bridge. But they do have projection across the street to water frontage, just as these folks do.
With this dock just north and south, not talking east and west, somehow cut out their ability there.
No, it's
Get
not
there.
within property setbacks. Fort Lauderdale has a 5-foot setback. I mean, it's still within Fort Lauderdale code.
It's a very
It is a
tight
tricky
jet ski
spot
that
with the bridge, but
Yeah.
it is within code.
So at one point there was a school at that address.
Okay, I saw that on Google. I saw it on Google Photos.
Anything else?
Okay, Doctor has confusion here. Let's make sure we clarify. You okay? Questions from the board, guys. Let's all, if we could, please be respectful of the center. Any other questions, issues? To the public, anybody have issues, questions? Do we have a motion on this, please?
Motion to approve, Ted Morley.
We have a motion approved by Ted Moore. Do we have a second? Whoever's down there with a second.
Who was the second?
I don't care. Give me
Doctor, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Morley?
Yes.
Mrs. Ware? Yes. Mr. Swindell?
Yes.
Mr. Roboski?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Franks? Can you hear? I know.
Franks.
Oh, Frank's.
He's on the. He's on.
I know, but can you hear clearly? That's the only way you can vote. No. Okay. Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar?
Yeah.
Mr. Coburn? Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Chair Witt?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There, no problem. So thank you for that, guys. The next one, we have the same presenter. This is a slightly different location. This is 832 Southeast.
823.
823. Keep writing it. 823 Southeast Second Street.
I did the same for this one. Kind of a lot of people. I did the presentations and then I made the application. I'm just gonna pass them out as you'd like.
So, we'll let Eileen explain what's going on here. I'm gonna, if anybody has had the opportunity of looking at this, this is a very sensitive location. We're gonna call it environmentally challenging. They have the swear word mangroves there that is obviously an issue. I'm gonna let Bob talk about that as well. But we want to make sure that we address this. This is a location, guys. I'm not sure I've ever used this term before, but this is what I refer to as a riparian buffer. Todd, are you here? So I talked to Todd earlier about this, and I asked if I could use this phrase riparian buffer, and the issue, and I'm using it liberally, but basically what's going on here is, and I'm going to take a second because I spent time there, and I'm going to use this as a general statement. Would you put up number 9B, if you would? So the location on Himmershey Canal, it's a very narrow canal. Okay, so before I let Eileen take the floor here, this is an overriding issue that we have with mangroves. It's a big issue we have, whether it's here or other areas. Himmershey Canal is a location here that doesn't move a great deal, so it's fairly stagnant water. Wonderful spot to keep a small boat tucked in, but again, environmentally very sensitive. The location here, if you notice, is an existing dock on the left. The location we're talking about, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, I mean, is these mangroves here. So one of our big issues is what do we do with this and how we handle it. I'm going to let you do your presentation, and Bob, maybe you can help educate what we do with mangroves or relocate them. So please go ahead, but this is something that's going to be very helpful to the board.
Wait, so the slides back, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, please put the slides up, guys.
So again, my name is Eileen Gonzalez, and I am presenting this one for Roger A. Edwards and Marianne Edwards. This is a new dock installation at 823 Southeast 2nd Street in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So again, just like the other presentation, you can see the GIS aerial view of the property, and it shows the property in comparison to the adjacent canal and the adjacent properties. And then that second photo is kind of like a aerial view, but to the side, so you can see all the existing mangroves, and some of that vegetation isn't necessarily mangroves, but all of the vegetation down the shoreline. Proposed work for this one is a marginal dock. It is a 6 foot by 14.9 foot marginal dock, and it does have a 3 foot wide access walkway. So technically it's a T-dock. And the proposed dock is immediately waterward of the existing shoreline. There is no seawall here, it's all natural vegetation. It is supported by wood piles, and the spacing ranges between 6 feet and 12 feet, and it is specifically designed to minimize impacts to the existing mangrove roots in the areas where we are able to minimize them. And then the next slides are going to show the engineered plans. So sheet 1, you can see the aerial view. This is the survey, and you can see that it's basically the same design as the dock from the neighboring property, going the same amount waterward, and you can see 14.9 by 6 feet. Next sheet is the framing plan, and you can see the pile spacing here. So you can see that near the shoreline, they are spaced 12 feet, and the intention behind that is to avoid impact to the mangrove roots from the existing mangroves as much as possible. And then you can see that they're spaced 6 feet and 7 feet at the end of the marginal dock. Then this just shows the embedment, how deep they are going, and how elevated it's going to be in comparison to the mean low water and the mean high water lines. And then just some details about fasteners and stuff like that. Then this last sheet is a plan view showing, again, mostly was included to show where the dock was going to be located in comparison to the edge of the pavement, and the spacing, again, where those existing mangroves do exist. Go back to it's not very deep. It wasn't on there. Deep there.
Well, it's not very deep, right?
It's around it's not very deep. If you go there, you can see
there's a bridge on each side, right? Limited a couple feet.
It's probably like 3 foot beyond the edge of the water. It's not really deep at all. We can go to the next slide. And then this is just kind of alluding to what we were already talking about. So the proposed dock was designed to minimize impacts to the existing mangroves as much as possible. Whenever there are mangroves in an area, Broward County does request that the access walkway is limited to 4 feet. We did ours at 3 feet in order to minimize it as much as possible. And that photo right there on the right kind of shows where the dock is going to be and what vegetation is going to be cut. So there is a silver buttonwood there that is going to be trimmed a little bit, and then there are some seedlings that are going to be removed per Broward approval, and then 1 or 2 cuts on that white mangrove right there. So this is just showing
where that hole is. Is that where we're looking? Right in the middle.
Yeah, well, on the right, where the hole is. Like you can see the yellow highlights show exactly what's going to be cut, and then the little red shows the cut marks. Yes, sir.
Who has riparian rights? Let us finish the presentation, please.
Here, so we did do mitigation, or the city did mitigation due to the mangroves that are going to be impacted here, and 50 red mangroves were planted at the Contehachi Park, located at 1116 Southwest 15th Avenue, and this was completed on September 9th. And kind of shows an aerial view showing the north side, south side, and then the little area in the middle that was mitigated, which is mangroves. And then if we go on to the next slide, You can see, again, the first photo is going to show the area on the southern shore where the mangroves were mitigated, and then the second photo shows the north shore, and then the third photo is a photo of the mangroves actively being planted. And that essentially concludes the presentation. It would be a very simple dock being installed with the mangroves right there, but it was designed in order to try to minimize the impacts as much as possible while also giving the homeowner the same access to the waterway as other homeowners do have down the canal. And any questions?
So thank you. Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, who has riparian rights on those mangroves at that property?
The city does.
Technically, the city.
Okay. And I'm not sure how the Kotihatchee plantings ties in to this request.
So we got an application with Broward County to mitigate the mangroves that were going to be removed or trimmed, which is really not that many mangroves being removed. It's more so the seedlings in the middle and that's one white mangrove being trimmed. But we did get an application. The city worked with us on it. I worked with Robert Dunkel and Laura Torley on it. And we got an application with Broward to mitigate the removal of mangroves down the Hermersh Canal. So that's what that.
I'm not sure. I'm still not understanding. CCA brought in the mangroves that were planted. I'm not sure how you're tying this together.
Well, okay, so Broward, if I understand correctly, based on the very lengthy process that this project was okay. So Broward has an agreement where you can remove mangroves for certain installations for a lot of different canals down in Broward County. The Hermersh Canal wasn't included in the list of those canals. And there is plans to develop the Hermersh Canal and install a new seawall. So based on my understanding, they did the mitigation in order to allow homeowners down the canal to enjoy the same access to the waterways as all the other owners down that canal. Because there's a lot of docks up and down that canal if you go over there. So that, correct me if I'm wrong, but
let's let Bob interject the first one that we're aware of, where we had to go through get the licenses for Broward County. Excuse me. The other docks that were there that had been installed did not interfere with the mangroves. But you might shed some light on Kotihatchee, because I think you were responsible for selecting that as a site for the mitigation.
Yeah. So the mangroves are property of the city. So the city is the one who had to apply for the permit to trim the mangroves. The city had to be responsible for any mitigation. And the city chose the mitigation. I forgot how many mangroves it was.
50 red mangroves.
No, that's what the city planted, but that's not what was required for mitigation. I think it was like 5.
It was minimal, yes.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 seedlings because the only things that were removed plant-wise were seedlings. So they said if we could plant 5 seedlings elsewhere in the city, all right, that would be our mitigation.
Did we talk about how they didn't do really well there?
Sorry?
How they didn't really survive there, a lot of them?
Where?
Thank you too much. Sorry.
No, please stand up.
No, we've been
answer that. The city,
you've had problems with transplanting. A lot of these are not taken.
Because the city is the one getting the permit from Broward County. We're on the line to make sure there's survivability.
You hear what's going on in Dayton, right?
I'm sorry. Can you say your name,
I'm Susie Bailey.
Susie Bailey. Okay.
Residential Resilience. Yeah. You know what's going on with Dayton with the removal in the county with the, and there's a lot of people that are starting to get on board with that. So this is sort of nobody's heard about this. It's the first I've heard about this. I know people aren't really excited when you're talking removing.
Yeah, and we did, just to make it very clear, I've been working with Robert for a very long time on this project, and the intention of this project was never to disrupt the environment and not give back. We proposed many different types of mitigation.
Do you know how the Hermersh Canal is struggling?
Robert,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I
But just remind everyone, if you would, there's really a struggling
You know we like to keep an open dialogue here. I think that Susie, you touch on an interesting point that, and we'll talk about it later. When do people get noticed? There is no reason that you would have been noticed on this, but you should know about it. So the public should know. So Andrew does a hell of a job sending out the agenda. I guess it works both ways. We got to figure out a forum so we're all staying in touch with this. The applicant did a fine job. They worked close with Bob. We have no issue whatsoever with how they put this presentation together. But I agree with you. If there's something going on like this in our city, with no disrespect to the applicant, you and your team, everybody else should know about it. So my question though is moving away from there with due respect. Bob, do we have an issue with the mangoes here? Are we cool with this?
We've gotten the appropriate licenses from Broward County. We're ready to go forward. I had some concerns in the beginning because I looked at this. Could you put it? I think that second picture shows the mango. No, the one that shows it going down the Michigan Canal.
I think
That was mine.
Looks like
Right there, yeah. That gave me some concern because Roger Edwards is one of 8 townhouse units. I believe the one on the end was installed, but my concern was, as I first started looking at this, I go, okay, Roger Edwards gets his now number 7 or 6 or 5 once more, and so on and so forth. And as we go farther on down the line, there is at 823, no, I can't remember the address. There is some commercial property down there. They have approached the city to donate money to put some seawall in. As I got deeper into it, and Roger and I talked about it today, it looks like in the next 3 to 4 years there's going to be a seawall. So my concern about that domino effect has been really mitigated as a result of that. And Roger is aware that when they put the seawall in, that he'll have to remove that dock at his expense and then go back through the process again, but not having to go deal with mangroves any longer, because that'll all be removed. You'll end up in a situation where the seawall is somewhat like Cordova Road, about 4 foot above grade, and they'll have to come up with another plan. But Roger, you've done great. I couldn't imagine anyone about she has been fabulous.
Go ahead, please.
So another thing about the mangroves that we did count as mitigation for this. So as part of the permit with Broward County, the city has to provide an annual report on those mitigation mangroves for the next 5 years, including pictures, any trimming that's conducted on the mangroves. So we have to ensure survivability of those transplanted mangroves for 5 years.
And they're gonna have to plant more mangroves if they don't survive. Because I've done similar projects up in Jupiter, and it's a DEP protocol. You have to monitor them for 5 years. Every year, you have to give them a report. So it's sometimes they don't survive because honestly, mangroves, like there's a lot of stuff that happens, especially with erosion, with the king tides. Like it's really hard to gauge when a mangrove is going to survive. But if they do continue to plant them, eventually they will find the best way to plant them so that they do survive at the site.
So for what that's, go ahead, please. Who pays for that? Who pays for what? The mitigation of mangroves. But actually, it's going to end up on Roger Edwards' nickel.
For 5 years, if they die, he has to keep paying, replant them.
Yes.
The vote really worth it.
Yeah, please.
I have a question for the applicant regarding not the mangrove situation before us, but operationally, looking at driving these pilings 30 feet away from the pavement edge. What's your operational plan?
They're going to do it with a water jet. So water jet, you can just hold it in your hand, and they can hold it with 2 guys, put it right on top of the pile, and then it's going to jet them in. So they're not going to be hammering them down with a big crane and causing a bunch of erosion in the area. So they're going to do it with a water jet, which still does obviously cause, you're putting a pile in the burn, but it's not as much as when you're hammering them in with the crane.
You do work on the water side or land side?
They could do either. Probably from the water. I mean, honestly, this one will probably be from land. Maybe they'll put like a small, like floating vessel platform in there so that it can kind of navigate the water. Just because the canal is very small here, and there are 2 fixed bridges, if I remember correctly. So they probably will be from the land.
That's an interesting point because at one juncture, we were looking at taking pilings and putting them in, and then you started to think about a barge and how big that vessel was going to be, and to what extent are we going to have to go ahead and trim or alter the mangroves in order to put, was it a 10-foot?
Yeah, they were 10 foot. Yeah, 10-foot pilings.
So they have morphed into a wet jet installation if anything goes wrong, Roger Edwards will indemnify the city.
And the contractors working on this job, the Seaside Marine Construction, and they've been very in the loop on the whole entire process, and they know that this is a sensitive project that has taken a very long time for us to get to this point. So they are very aware of the fact that they need to comply with everything that the city says when it does come time for installation.
Sheriff, one little follow up.
Please.
Thought out. The boat that has the little blue divots up there on that dock. Is that a floating dock or are those
That's
piles?
a neighbor. No, it's a fixed dock if I remember correctly as well.
It was.
Yeah.
Can I
There
speak?
are piles, and I think it's a floating dock, but with fixed piles to hold it in place.
It was installed back in 2017. There was no mangrove removal required for that actual platform to put that in. Yeah, I think it's a floating dock. I
think it's a floating dock, but I think it is held. I don't know if it's with pilings, but there is something holding it onto the river.
You don't need much of a pile in there, by the way.
No, not up top.
Okay, so other questions first. So here's where we are, guys. We have addressed the environmental issue to the extent that Bob Dunkel is satisfied. I think that we are voting basically on a rather straightforward marginal dock there, access to the waterway. That is our job to make sure. And again, residents have safe access to the waterway. So let's discount the environmental issues and look at this as a rather straightforward request for a dock permit over there. With that said,
You said it was going to be a temporary dock because in the next couple of years, you're effectively going to have to pull it out.
Yeah, technically, because they're going to need to install a new seawall, which this has been in the plans. We talked about it a couple months ago. They're going to install a new seawall, and I don't know how they're going to install a new seawall and keep those mangroves there. So they're going to have to get rid of them. That's one. And two, of course, you have to remove the dock. Because the dock, we're bringing it all the way up to the shoreline so that we're not impacting the mangrove roots as much as possible. So,
Which are going to be destroyed anyway.
Exactly. But he really wants an observation dock right now. So 4 years, it could be 4 years, it could be 6 years in the city.
I respect his desires. So with that said, do we have a motion from anybody?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Let's bring it to a roll call vote, please.
Public comment. We skipped
Oh, I'm
public
sorry.
comment.
I'm sorry. I didn't say that, did I? So, Susie Bailey.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, please do.
That's what I do.
That's what you do.
No, I just have all the, has the neighborhood and the HOA been notified about all this removal of mangroves? And then I'm asking the city, are they aware that you're going to come in and remove all these mangroves?
So as far as the city goes, that seawall is listed on the city seawall master plan as in to be replaced within the 0 to 5 year plan. That is pending funding. Yeah, it is.
So how has the HOA responded to this?
The seawall
Roger,
master plan.
you have quite a bit of knowledge about this. Perhaps you might be able to respond.
Okay, so what was the question?
How has the HOA responded to the fact that the seawall is going to be
Hammock?
right? Site.
Well, I'm on the Beverly Heights
Beverly Heights,
Community
okay.
Homeowner Association, and my job is they've asked me to kind of oversee and be involved in the seawall project that will come down the road, and I've volunteered to do that. So the city, the people in Beverly Heights are looking at me to help try to get the best result from the seawall because the way that the water runs down 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue, 11th Avenue, it flows into the canal. But with the seawall there, that water will back up on 2nd Street. So this is one of the issues that we have to deal with.
Just wanted to make sure that you're aware that they're going to.
I know most of the owners on the street, and all of them support my efforts. They all have boats and docks on the canal.
Because I know, just one other thing, Hemmershey, the numbers of bacteria, that it's not a healthy canal.
No, it's not. You know, honestly, Broward, I work all in South Florida, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade. Broward probably has the worst water quality out of every single county. It's.
The other thing I want to say is I'm very it has its issues, but we are trying to do like regular cleanup on the canal, like remove the stuff that floats in the canal. So
I'm
And
trying
there are a lot
to.
of big efforts towards it. Like
Yeah.
the living seawall that they said earlier, like everybody knows that there's a water quality issue and they are being proactive in the ways that
There's
they can.
been an improvement. There's been 2 or 3 brand new construction properties there that are around the $3 to $4 million mark. So the homeowners are, capable homeowners that have the best interest of the water quality in mind.
And I'm just thinking when the city's coming in with a new seawall, I'm hoping they're going to look forward of a more innovative seawall.
Yes,
guess
I think that's the
one
plan.
other
You
issue
know that's in the background too, and we'll pick that up on Friday, I'm sure. So Trish, you have a question?
Well, I was going to, Susie just brought that up, is that we are lucky to have the Miami Waterkeepers, which does keep tabs on how bad the Himmershey is. And I was a little concerned when you were talking about the water jetting down and things like that, because the Himmershey is so bad, we have all of that stuff that's at the bottom of it, and it's just going to bring it all up. So that was another thing that I was a little
It's a good point, but turbidity barriers will be installed as an erosion measure, and they will be installed throughout the entirety of the whole project. And the purpose of a turbidity barrier is to kind of try to contain all of the silt that rises and
But
everything.
it just does the turbidity, and I'm more concerned about everything else. That's
I was going to mention something about that. The city is making a conscious effort to try to improve the water quality in that canal. They installed a major aeration system down the entire.
that didn't help at all.
It's an effort.
It was tried.
It was a smell.
Sorry.
So, okay, so.
Okay, but sorry.
No, this is good stuff because I want to, two things. Number one, I want to make sure we continue to address the needs of the issue canal. It is an issue, obviously, and it wasn't an issue where people kind of lived there years ago, and it was a different Fort Lauderdale. So we do need to follow it, but we also need to make sure that you and residents, resilience, and everybody else is aware of the topics that are right in front of us, so they can join us. So. This is not Andrew's issue. Andrew notifies everybody. If there's a better way, I don't know. I guess just be aware of the agenda. So, public, anybody else? Yes,
I just want to say it's very ironic that last night at City Commission meeting, they just passed the urban tree ordinance to protecting all these trees and how much more we need to do. And here it is the very next night. And you're talking about removing mangroves in this area, which just, see, the dollar will always win when it comes to the trees, without doubt. And I still don't quite understand, like what Norm asked, what does Coontahatchee have to do with this? I still didn't hear a one that I
They
didn't
replace it.
They're going to move these.
No. So it's in however layman's terms I understand, if you remove one and you replace it with 10, that's the trade.
Mitigating. There's such
Regardless
there's
of
on-site
wherever
mitigation.
it is.
You could,
And the city came up with that as the place that we
So
would
they're
need it
not
the
moving
most,
them from here
right?
to
Is that right?
Coontahatchee. They're just planting to replace the ones that they took
And
out.
then Susan and
As a
Trish's
trade.
concern is these things are dying, who's maintaining them? So they're in our in the forefront, guys. Bob's well aware of it, so nobody's sneaking anything over us at this point. So right now, hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we'll take it to the next level. Anybody else?
Just wanted
Let's
to
try
make sure that I get your name, sir.
Ted and Sarah.
Thank you.
Let's try this again. Can we have a motion from anybody? Did we already do that, or we have that? We're ready for a vote.
Yes, sir. We're ready for a
Go
vote.
ahead.
Motion was made at 7:15.
Go ahead.
Can you read the motion back?
And this motion was to grant
As
dock
is
waiver
heard.
at 823 Southeast Second. Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
No.
Mr. Morley?
No.
Mrs. Ware?
No.
Mr. Swindell?
Yes.
Mr. Robotsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Franks? Sorry, I forgot he's on call. Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar?
Yes.
Mr. Coburn?
Yes.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Mr. Bekoff?
No.
Mr. Washington?
No.
And Chair Witten?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, listen, I understand, you know, we don't comment on who voted why, et cetera, but I understand the sensitivity to that and I respect your position. So thank you all for the hard work. Let's move on to, so our next is 401 Idlewild Drive. This has been brought to you 4 hours previously, and we decided to table it and bring it back around. Who is presenting on behalf of Ms. Daly?
You. I'm back. Myself, John Petrowski. Matt Capiello, that most of you guys met last time, is our general manager. Oh, sure. Yeah, whatever you're ready.
You guys, we all set?
Sure. Here, go ahead and take mine. Okay. Sure. Sure.
Let's, anybody not get one of these handouts? Yep, that's it.
No, I did not.
Anybody else not get one?
All right, guys, lots of ground to cover. Let's pay respect of the presenter, please.
All right, good evening, everybody. I've been working with this board for a long time. Always fun to be here. I appreciate everything that you guys do. And hopefully we'll have a good outcome tonight. Happy New Year. I wasn't able to make the last meeting in December, but this is Matt Capiello. He's our general manager for our Broward location. He met most of you folks last time. And then we've got Abigail Condrath, who runs our permitting, engineering, design, and consulting business. She was here as well. They may assist me if needed, or if I get out of line, which I'll try not to. But we've got a presentation that's plugged in, and then I handed you guys a packet with just some points of reference. I'm going to read you just the cover letter here. Thank you for letting us get back in front of you guys again. We're here just as a reminder applying for a variance because our project fits beyond the 25-foot easement into the waterway that we all know the city has. If you guys will flip in your the packet I gave you, I believe it's the 7th page. It looks like this. It's got a bunch of cute stars on it. We're not really good at graphic stuff, so but it's this one right here with the stars on it. So this is Idlewild Drive, guys. This is an area, one of the widest areas of the intercoastal there, right across where the boat show is that most of us will know. So what we're talking about tonight is actually a much smaller scope and scale than almost every residential homeowner on this drive. Almost everybody here has a substantial T-dock, huge boats, and we're actually up at the very top here, guys, where it says where the green star is. So we're on the widest part of the canal, and actually in front of you guys for probably the smallest project in scope. But just so that we all kind of have context of where we're talking about. And I know some of that was talked about last time, so I'll try to move through it. So although we wanted an exception, at the last meeting, really the only legitimate concern was that our project was still within a 5-foot setback from non-marginal docks in the city. So we have further modified our project to be outside that 5-foot setback. We believe that we are in good standing now and would like to request a vote on the variance application for our project sticking beyond the 25 feet. So the one that we have here up on the board, guys, the challenge we ran into last time was that there's an additional setback in the city for any non-marginal docks. Marginals typically run this way on the side. And so we have an existing structure, guys, that is almost in this exact same footprint here, but actually goes all the way out here and crosses the riparian rights line. And so originally we wanted to keep as much of our existing structure as we could, and we had to go through some kind of extensive conversations with the city and DEP and Army Corps of Engineers and everybody else to bring this project within side of the riparian rights line. Then we worked with the city, thank you very much, and got a waiver from the city to waive a 25-foot setback because we're on state submerged land. So when we were here last time, our project went right up to this riparian rights line because we wanted to preserve as much of the existing structure. This is already here, guys, this part here. What we realized as a point of contention is that folks here felt like we needed to get beyond this 5-foot setback. So we further shortened or modified our proposal to be outside what was really the main contention last time. So we've made that modification so that we're no longer in that 5-foot city setback. you know, I think an important note, and it's on page 6 of the agreement here. This is just for context, guys. I've worked with this group for a long time, many circumstances. This is a list of all the other applications on that street or in that area that were approved for a similar request. Almost every single one of them is for a project bigger than ours. And so there's some little notes at the top, 19 total, 14 over 53 feet, which is where we are. And every single one of them were approved by the board. So just some historical context on similar kinds of things, which I think is important. Additionally, we have provided a few things we didn't have last time. Included in this packet in front of you, we've got some letters from neighbors that are acknowledging, agreeing, and suggesting that our project should be approved. They're in there for your view. And although we felt it unnecessary, we have gone through the trouble of asking one of the most reputable and prominent local captains to review the proposed project in conjunction with existing neighborly structures and give an assessment as to the navigable egress and mooring. So Captain Skip Dana was kind enough to do this assessment, provide a letter indicating that essentially no competent boat driver should have any issue getting out of either of the proposed or existing dock structures or mooring. So we would respectfully ask that we can stay on focus with our application, which is simply at this point, guys, to grant a variance request because our project sticks out 53 feet. As we know, the city's is 25 or beyond it. But as we've shown, we're far less of a structure than almost everything that has been unanimously approved in the past. We would, I guess, open it up to questions and go from there.
How wide is that canal, John?
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
I just want to add
I
one
wouldn't
thing.
try to swim it.
I live on the other side.
I just want to add one thing. When we shortened the dock, we didn't move the dock south. We literally kept the footprint and shortened it to get within the 5 foot, which was your concern last time. So still maintaining as far north as we possibly can, not moving it any more south. Although we have plenty of room to move it south. We didn't do that.
So the limit on the length of the boat that could be sitting on the south side of the dock is the boat sticks out of the 10 feet. Imagine you put a 60-foot boat there or 70-foot boat.
It's a good question, and so in fact, I think that would fall to the city's requirement, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 33% of the width of the waterway.
Well, that gives you 150-foot boat.
Yeah.
Chair, just a point of reference, the width of the waterway there, it's kind of a misrepresentation because it is the ICW, it is a navigable channel. So the 700-foot number is really fake. So don't use that number because you can't put a boat into the ICW anyway. So with respect, that's not a city of Fort Lauderdale, that's a Army Corps of Engineers waterway. So
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
how far off is it from the intercoastal buoys? What I'd like to know.
No,
Do you
that's
have that number?
Yes, yeah, we do. It's an excellent point. And so just want to also point out, guys, this is a little unorthodox, which is generally how we do things for these things, because once you go to Army Corps or DEP or any of the state or local agencies, sometimes they'll have additional requirements that go beyond the city. So in this case, guys, it's important to note that we have gone to the Army Corps of Engineers and gotten this project approved. We've also gone to the Department of Environmental Protection, mitigated any and all environmental issues or impacts and have mitigated that. And we have gotten Broward County. So we have gotten every license and permit required to build this project, with the exception of the city. But because of the variance request, we're here this evening. So your point is very valid, sir. So the navigational concern goes from the center of the navigable waterway, which is where we get an XY survey that tells us how far exactly we are from the center of the canal, which I believe we have. I don't have it memorized. But
200 feet from the west boundary. So from the boat, it's 200 feet.
But it's an excellent point. He's absolutely right.
Can we use that for the 700-foot number? More realistic, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Are you satisfied with that? Ted?
I'm looking at, yeah, I am. Thanks for
So we
clarification.
talked about, and with due respect to whatever captain looked at that, we happen to have a few guys around the table that have some experience, including Captain Morley. So thank you again. I think we can cooperate because that's a fairly wide spot. Thank you for that. Anybody else from the board want a question before we open it up to the public?
Is 407 sent a letter of support? 407 Idlewood, because they're the house of concern that I would have. But
No, they do not.
Okay, so you're going to talk.
Is an objective.
Okay.
We have 6 letters of support that we received today, and as John said, there were others mentioned in the packet. So
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. The clients that we represent, Miss Nancy Daly and her son John Daly, are here this evening, and I apologize. I meant to introduce them at the beginning, so they're also here as well. Should they?
Yeah, 407 received a variance for 65 feet in 1994. I would be objection to the question you're gonna have to ask them.
I think it's a great question.
Well, black and white, we approved it.
Well, let's let Mr. Sturgis up in a minute.
Yeah, I'd ask you guys one question. Sure. You're going out due east. Could you have made this parallel to the dock that's at 407? If they converge. And if this dock went this way instead of that way.
Yeah, the challenge there is, as you can see, we've got a perpendicular turn, and the further we, to your point, if we were to,
here's the line you can't go past.
Right.
So if this dock went like this,
yeah. So the challenge
that went 25 degrees to the north.
Yeah. So the challenge there is the further that you move that angle, to your point,
you lose this part.
Yes, sir. Which adds a lot of additional things that our clients would like.
Anybody else, please, from the board? Questions? Okay, let's open it up to the public, please. Would somebody like to speak on behalf of Tyler? Come on up, please.
We've killed a lot of trees today. A lot of trees died today. There's all electronics. Thank you.
Before I try, I should ask a few questions. One, John, what is the size vessel you're proposing to draw for?
So, it's a good question, Tyler. The clients who are here this evening don't currently own the vessel. So they would like to own one in the future. And the conversation, and please correct me, Nancy, if I'm wrong, but is around getting a sailboat. And somewhere, if I remember correctly, in the 30s, which has a beam of anywhere between 9 and 8 and 9, 10 feet. But they currently don't have a vessel. Actually, guys, we added that really as based on the request for here. That wasn't on our original set of plans because they don't actually own a boat. We just did it to try to be helpful in the context of this scenario. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
And one other question, was there a survey done on the property that you used for the plans?
Yes, all of the above. Oh, and a good point. Thank you, Tyler. So we took this project over from another contractor and permitting group that had spent a good bit of time and unfortunately stress and money from Ms. Daly. And we took this project over, and they had done quite a bit of those surveys. Tyler, they had done bathymetric. They had basically done most of them, but hadn't put it together in a complete project to present it here. So yes, there were all of those appropriate surveys and inspections for them. And then I went back and did several of the boundary surveys with the surveyor myself, in fact 3 times, to verify some of the things.
And what was the reason they weren't included on the plans?
Probably just not necessary. It's applicable at other entities, just not here.
Yes. Chair, if I may, just wanted to go over all of these things at the last meeting as far as objection. I'm here, Tyler Stell on behalf of the Sturgis family. 407 Idlewild is the neighbor directly to the south. So this is the current proposal. We actually did put it on a survey and showed how the surveyor located the streets, the properties, and the lines, and where the lots are. And what I wanted to go over tonight as part of our objections is a few items. One, that the applicant's survey and drawings that they're using have not only multiple discrepancies in their application package, but also are not signed and sealed. They're not referencing the survey and the plans.
We also, their extraordinary circumstance for the first one, their main extraordinary circumstance for the request is that they needed a deeper area to moor the vessel. Just now I'm hearing what the actual vessel is. I'm not sure what the draft is, but if it's a sailboat, it has a keel, I'm sure it's fairly deep, and their request is to go out farther into the waterway to have that vessel. However, there's no bathymetric survey. There was one done, but it's not shown on the plans. And the way they have the design shown, we'll go into it a little bit further, is the positioning of the boat that they're currently proposing is actually closer to the seawall than the current slip they have seen, which would be in the shallower area. Also, another point is that because their dimensions are not shown accurately, this vessel will be within the setback, which the city granted on the north side. The Sturgis family did not grant a letter of concurrence for DEP to have a vessel within the setback. And the reason DEP issued the permit is because no vessel was shown on the plans. So DEP reviewed the permit application as is, granted it with the understanding that the dock is exempt. However, the boat itself will be in the setback, and that the distance here they're showing is 36 feet, but in reality it's 28. And if you have a boat there, then we're roughly, say it's 9 feet or 10 feet, like he's saying, the beam, then we're going to be at 16 feet. You have to be 25 feet for the boat, which also further hinders the access into the existing dock. I'll go into next slide. Next one again. So here's the survey that they are using as part of their application package, which Ted, you were mentioning before what the distance is. This is the riparian lines that they're showing that they had for blocking, which is now Control Point did previously and showed the actual project boundary here. And then this, the distance between the riparian lines shown here, which is 62.03 feet. If you look at their drawings, they're showing a 36-foot distance between the riparian line to the dock, another 20 feet for the dock, and then another 10 to the riparian. Math doesn't make sense. That's much more than 62 feet. Next slide. In this diagram that they used in part of their application for boat access, they're actually showing a boat here, which is not a sailboat. They're showing a distance of 43 feet, which we actually measured on the plans is actually 40 feet between the point of the dock and the vessel. And then they're showing 9 feet here instead of 10 feet like they have on the plans. And then they're showing a 27-foot to the boat, which is not what the dimensions are. And actually, this drawing is not even to scale, in that if this dock is in fact 53 feet from perpendicular to the seawall, it would be much farther out. What we did as far as navigational access, we used 1.5 times the length of the vessel for the surgeons that they have, that they keep at the dock. That's standard. We use that for navigation, for not only all design, but also navigation. And actually, some standards go to 2 to 1. We chose 1.5 just to, be fair. And with 40-foot distance here, this boat, as you can see, with the vessel that they showed on their plan, would not be able to navigate into the slip number 1. Next slide. Then the next, sorry, go back please. This is the smaller vessel here, which actually sits on the lift. This vessel would be able to navigate to the marginal dock, but this boat's not. I will also make note, here's the real dimensions of 28.4 from the riparian to the dock, and then the 16.5 from the boat that they proposed with the 9-foot beam to the riparian line. Next slide. What we did with this slide is we took the worst case scenario for a sailboat, given that there was information that it may be a proposed sailboat. This is a cat sailboat, because there's no definition of what the sailboat is. They're not giving a manufacturer type, not giving much of anything about the vessel. So we took the biggest 36-foot cat sailboat that we could find, has a 17-foot beam. And this, we put it bow in, assuming that they're saying that they need more depth in order to get, so putting it the other way they had it, which was actually the bow was facing out into the intercoastal, would put them all within the shallowest area of the waterway. You would see we'd only have 25 feet between the dock and the beam of the vessel. Next slide. So this reiterates basically the 5 or 6 arguments that are part of our objection is that we're not going to be able to navigate with those turning radiuses. They're going to have a boat within the 25-foot setback. They go already over seagrass, but they adhere to the seagrass construction guidelines. They have no bathymetry that was provided showing depths. We are assuming based on their application that the shallowest areas are closer to the seawall, but they're showing the boat 2.5 feet from the proposed seawall. So to me, that would not make any sense. And then the last is that none of the dimensions match on the application package. None of the plans are signed with it, and there's no reference to it. Next slide. This is what we talked about last meeting. We came up with a compromise. We were trying to be good neighbors, see if we could come up with something that would not only give them the dock access they want, but also have the ability to access the waterway with their vessel and the proposed vessel that they had. We were able to come up with a design that kept their T-dock and actually gave them more dock square footage as well as an additional slip. It would give them not only the side boat they want, but an additional boat as well. It should still be outside the setback of 25 feet for not just the dock, but also the vessel. And that's based on, we had 61.3, call it 62, based on our exhaustion survey. Next slide. Again, this is using the CAD boat, assuming worst case scenario, with a 14-foot beam. You have plenty of space for navigation. Next slide. This is with the 17. We did a couple scenarios of cats. Even with a sailboat, if it's a single keel sailboat, we'd even have more room. Next slide.
Is there anything preventing that from being longer?
No. Just
if you back up,
you can only go so far.
Back up one slide.
Yeah, they can only go so far this way to get.
It could be another 8-10 feet longer without a problem.
They have to keep the 5 feet.
Okay, that's where the problem is.
But they could shift. If they only truly want one boat, they could even take this finger pier, shift it to here, and put the bigger boat on the one side, and they would even have a longer dock at that point.
So would that boat be over the riparian line then?
Yeah. No, not if you shifted this down. Okay. Next slide. This is just going up our concepts. It would give them the protection for the passing waves. That was their other extraordinary circumstance because they'd be perpendicular to wave action coming off the intercoastal. They would be able to put their boat in deeper water, not what they're proposing now, and provide the clearance for the Sturgis to be able to get into their property and their docks that they've had for over 30 years now. Next slide. Thank you for the opportunity to present our objection.
Thank you, Tom. So I have a general question to ask of anybody here. How can we not have the plans match? How is it the measurements are not accurate? I'm not sure, and I'm sorry, I guess I'm just all tired. How are we supposed to vote on something with the measurements that aren't accurate? Could somebody answer it? If we have a different measurement there, a different measurement here, go ahead, Mr. Morley.
This was the issue last meeting. It was one of the reasons why I think the board agreed to table this discussion was to give the applicant a chance to get their house in order and perhaps work with Tyler and his client to come up with an amicable arrangement. Check all the measurements, double check everything, make sure everything was presented properly. Because point back to you can't vote on things that aren't in proper order. We're doing a disservice to the community to do that.
So, John, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Yeah, if I could.
How screwed up?
Well, thank you for the question. The good news, not at all. And while I, as much as I've done these things now, oh man, probably darn near close to 100 times between various cities up and down the state of Florida coast. I will say that this is an unprecedented defense and rejection, and kudos to Mr. Tyler and Mr. Sturgis for putting together a heck of an argument, because this is certainly unprecedented. But the first thing I would like to offer is that the reason we're here tonight, guys, Matt, if you want to pull that up, or Andrew, if you could, is because we're only asking for the one thing that we're here to vote on tonight, which is whether or not we can be granted a variance for our project to be sticking beyond the 25-foot setback, which again we've approved for every single other structure on that area. And every single one of those projects is much, much greater in scope than this. Now, Tyler put together a wonderful presentation, and folks, as you know, we are very rare in this case where we have obtained Army Corps of Engineers, DEP, Broward County, all necessary licenses and permits. And for all of those entities, of course, we've had to have XY surveys, bathymetric surveys, depth measurements. Every single one of these things is done. And it's FDEP whose job it is to litigate these issues, which we have done. And we had to do that, in point of fact, because of the case Mr. Sturgis had Mr. Tyler in an unprecedented effort to fight us and sent arguments to all the various entities. So we guys already litigated all of these points. And so I bring it back tonight to say that we are just really here talking about whether or not we can, this board is okay with us being more than 25 feet. I think it's important that we not get totally spread out and beyond. So surveys we've done, they're all accurate. I have personally done 3 boundary surveys at this property. I have personally walked with the tape to see exactly how far that project is, both straight and angled, and it's approximately 67 feet, which matches our plans. There are some older surveys that we were provided when we took this project over. Those measurements are great distances from where we are. Guys, I verified this, and I've had to verify with every single entity whose job it is to litigate this. That's not our job here tonight. We're here to talk about the variance request for 25 feet. And it's wonderfully done, already approved. But guys, let's table that for just a second, because I'm often on your side, help write codes, help argue things. I have been with this board for 7 or 8 years, and I can't tell how many times I've been with Barry or with Norbert or somebody talking about the one thing that we don't want, which is residential homeowners building marinas in their backyard. We have talked about it ad nauseum in these meetings in the past, and if there's not a better example in the world than what Mr. Sturgis has built. And guys, in the argument that these folks are making, and they're doing a good job of it, is that we are impeding their ability to navigate their small marina with 4 boats navigated. Guys, this is a list of all the violations and code violations and permits. They do not have a legal structure. They do not have a legal NOC. So guys, FDEP issued a verification of exemption for a 10-foot by 20-foot dock in March 13th of 1998. Guys, what they built is a heck of a lot more than that. FDEP confirmed via email on December 11th that the L-shaped dock has no historic permit. That entire project that these folks are worried about is not permitted. The L-shaped dock since being permitted prior to 1998. Excuse me, sir. Let me finish. The L-shaped dock since beginning permitting in Broward in 1998 has been reconfigured without permits or waivers, approving such charges within riparian, not approving such charges being within riparian setbacks. The original permit for the L-shaped dock called out a 5-foot setback from the north riparian. The dock currently sits less than 3 feet from the riparian based on the plans provided by Chappelle Group. So since our last meeting, folks, these kind folks figured this out. Chappelle went to the various entities and applied for permits, got it kicked back from FDEP with a laundry list of qualification issues, and has since withdrawn it. That's where, thanks to his fine work, and he does wonderful work, and I'm a supporter of his, and I work with his firm, but he's gone out and shown that they're within 3 feet. The current configuration of the dock is not permissible with an FDP unless submerged land lease is obtained. It's not. The project is not exempt because it preempts more than 500 square foot over water. I've got all this stuff cited. It does not qualify for a general permit due to not being only dock on the property. In other words, he's got multiple docks and he's only permitted to have one. Does not qualify for a general permit due to having more than 2 moorings. He's only allowed to have 2 moorings, guys. He's got 4. This is expressly what I worked with this group for years to avoid. Consent by rule requires that a structure is only on dock or pier and parcel. He's got both. Letter of consent requires 1 minimum sized family dock or dock that preempts no more than 10 square feet. He's got 2. He's got an unpermitted boat lift. The dock and southern boat lift violate the 25-foot setback of both the north and south property owners. Guys, every single one of these things is referenced and cited. The project presents a navigational hazard by requiring moored boats to traverse through the northern neighbor's riparian right side in order to access the mooring slip. because the dock doesn't qualify unless by land use, a single family dock is required to have no more than 2 moorings. He's clearly got 4. And guys, I actually pulled state statutes where we went to court and litigated this out. And there is judge rulings in the state of Florida that say, if our clients, who have no intention of causing any issue whatsoever, we have no problem with Mr. Sturgis doing it, and I applaud his effort in fighting here. But if our clients were to return the favor, what the state has ruled on, what judges in the state of Florida have ruled on, is that he would have to take up his dock because his NOC is not valid. And if our clients were to make the same argument he has, he'd have to remove his entire dock. So our point to you guys is tonight, our only ask of you is to vote on whether or not, just like every other project in the area, our project can extend behind the 25-foot setback. I have no problem with what they're doing. I'm just simply pointing out, I'm happy to provide every one of these things cited and referenced, that their dock has more violations than anything I've ever seen in front of you guys. And so it's a moot point for them to come in here and make an argument that they have issues getting in and out, and we've proven that they can do it. So again, our hope here tonight is to help this poor lady who's been trying to get a dock built for her viewing pleasure that's in alignment with what everybody else has been able to do so that she could get a small sailboat in the future and put it there. We've navigated all of this stuff with the folks that are supposed to regulate it and got it approved. So I would kindly ask if we can focus on the things with merit and if we can vote tonight to approve the only thing we're asking for, which is the exception of the 25-foot variance.
So let me toss it back to Mr. Chappelle, but with one caveat. We're not here to pass judgment on Mr. Sturgis. We're not here to pass judgment on how he operates, what he does, etc. I appreciate you mentioning that, but we're here to pass judgment on the merits of the application. So with that said, I throw it back to Mr. Chappelle.
Thank you, Chair. First off, I would caution Mr. Petrowski that you're on the record. We're going to do that at the City Commission. Everything that Mr. Sturgis has been filed for a permit, granted a permit. The DEP permit, the reason it was wrong is second was because Mr. Sturgis' record keeper was able to find his permit in 1994 for the element that was approved by DEP in the current location, as well as the floating docks that are there. The only thing he did not have a permit for was boat lift. Boat lift is exempt, and there is no outstanding violation with any agency on record. I want to be clear on that. We have processed Broward County permit after the fact because Mr. Petrowski fired back, obviously, after we objected to his application, and after the services to try to find out the things did not have. Then the Son of Broward County issued us a compliance letter and a violation and asked us to submit after the fact structures that she had the record on. Five records to her of the one structure that had been approved by the county, which is Cardinals off, voting platform, things she did not have a record of, did not. Both of them was put in place where the old voting docs was removed. So we're not here to try to pull over anything. All we're saying is that Mr. Sturgis is trying to keep what he has. He has 3 votes, not 4. And he's trying to access those votes and continue that access. 1 vote out of the 3, including we're talking about, it's inside slip, inside the out, given plenty of compromises. And it's unfortunate that Daly and Petrowski, after us sending them compromise correspondence, asking for them to meet with us, discuss this, chose to not respond. So,
thank you, Tyler. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned earlier, we're not here to litigate 407, or for that matter, anything other than what's in front of us. I chaired this committee for several years, as you know, timed out a few years ago. So, John, I've been around the block a few times too. So I've been in front of this for a whole lot of them. Our job is to approve or not approve what's in front of us. We have to take into account, though, navigational concerns, public welfare, environmental impacts, etc. none of us want to deny Ms. Daly and her family the use of the waterway, nor do we want to deny Mr. Sturgis the use of the waterway by his house. The art of compromise, to me, is how I've lived my entire life. It's something I've worked on to find some amicable medium, middle ground, if you will. I'm a little perplexed, I guess, by the resistance to Tyler's plan, whether it's the best plan or not. I don't really know. I mean, it's tomatoes, potatoes, right? It doesn't really matter. But to me, there's still some questions here about the dimensions. And John, it's great that you walked it yourself, but I know you. You're a great guy. I mostly believe you. I'll take that. I'll take it. But I also know Tyler, and I know his presentations are usually spot on and accurate. So we're kind of stuck here in a bit of a quandary because we've got mismatched dimensions. And whereas you say you submitted a survey through all the various iterations, that's great. We don't have it. So those questions are left kind of up in the air, which is one of the things I think was pointed out. I'm not sure who did it last meeting, but it was pointed out one of the reasons at the table. I still don't fully understand why we didn't get back an accurate application with all those things rectified and had some conversation between Tyler's client and Miss Daly to find some compromise where the neighbors are neighbors, folks. We all have to get along. We all have to live here. We all have to share the waterway. We've all got to make use of it and enjoy it together. It seems like we're getting to this really controversial, confrontational point between these two neighbors, which hopefully we can de-escalate and find some middle ground that satisfies both parties.
I 100% agree. If you don't
Without
mind,
the threats of future litigation, Chair.
I'd love to answer your question, and thank you. It's a wonderful point. And so again, guys, I want to just remind you all that we took this project over from an existing party, and we have made no less than probably 6 or 7 compromises. And when this first project was designed and we took it over, not only was the full existing structure here, but they had numerous design idea types that were within the 25-foot setback for the neighbor. So when I originally took it over, I didn't think we were going to have to adhere to the 25-foot setback to the neighbor, which is quite extreme. That's a big gap, right? The reason we have to, guys, because it's on state submerged land, if your waterway is more than 65 feet, you have to adhere to that 25-foot setback requirement, which is why we had to work for the city and get it. Obviously, it would be to our advantage if that project came out to be less than 65 feet, which is why I went out there at 3 times independently varied with 2 different surveyors that the distances were correct. So our assertion is that our numbers are correct. Secondly, guys, not only did we take this over and then realize that we had to accommodate the 25-foot setback and shift our entire project this way 25 feet, right? Once we started our initial submissions, again, our project was already out here. We worked with the city for months, brought it within inside. We then came back after this meeting, made an additional concession to short it another 5 feet. And normally, sometimes a year, right? These poor folks have been dragged through the mud for over a year before I got to them, right? We went painstakingly through this with an unprecedented defense and had to mitigate. We've already litigated everything that's been talked tonight with FDP and Army Corps and recruit, right? Should be a moot point. But guys, we came back and we had to make this narrow. We had to bring this in to mitigate seagrass. There were conflicting seagrass reports. These folks sent them in. We had to go get more. We made all of these accommodations from our original set of plans. This wasn't where we wanted to be. So guys, while I appreciate Mr. Tyler's alternative suggestion, we all know what that means. If we were to go with this project, it's a complete redesign, complete re-engineering, complete Army Corps of Engineers, complete DEP, and we relitigate the entire thing that we just went through a year and a half to do. So I would impose on you guys, and I would say that not only did we make additional concessions here before we got started, then we made concessions to come this way twice. Then we've had to narrow this and raise this. Guys, we've made lots and lots of concessions, and we're way outside this 25-foot setback that nobody else in that entire road is adhering to. So I think, and I agree with him 100%. Compromise is 100% the story. But the part of the narrative that's important is you guys don't know that we did all those things already before we came here. I try to make this as simple as possible so when we get here, you guys don't have a whole lot to argue about. So, but that's my answer.
Somehow we failed that.
Well, it's okay.
If I may,
everything's a learning example.
So, what you just listed as your compromises, which sounds a pretty lengthy list of them.
Yes, sir.
To me, those are compulsory items to comply with code. They're not optional. To me, a compromise is you've got an option here, and an option here. Both are legally possible. What you've described are 6 or 8 things that you couldn't do within the code. Am I correct? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I don't see a single compromise, truly a compromise yet. I'm not trying to pick apart this. I have no dog in the hunt. I live in Rio Vista, not Idlehouse. I'd love to, but so I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of
could you bring the
Sturgis is right and Ms. Daly's rights. So we look at this. That's all we look at.
Yes, sir. And I would respond by saying, if we look at every other project that is on that street, if every other one of this there who could all walk in here after we set a bad precedent and argue what he says, that he's not going to adhere to a 25 foot, he would have to sign off. He's the only one on the entire street that did not sign off on the 25 foot setback. Guys, that's not neighborly. If everybody enforced that, nobody on that canal would have a document of every billionaire in here arguing and screaming with all their lawyers. Guys, enforcing this 25 foot setback, as hard as they are, is not a compromise. Yet we have done 7 or 8 additional compromises beyond that, more so than anybody else in this situation has done. And generally, the spirit of this board, when we apply for a variance, is what's the grievance, guys? And a lot of it ties back to just being able to use your property and its thing as its intended use. And if we've got depth issues, we've already had to adhere to things that nobody else has had to adhere to. So I'm not disagreeing with him. I'm just simply saying we sure have done an awful lot. And it's not just because we were forced to. Guys, they launched an unprecedented thing. Nobody hires people and spends thousands of dollars to send additional surveys that they went and did on our property and arguments to all these other entities. And I have nothing against this gentleman. I hope he's fine with what he's doing. And I'm a big fan of Tyler's. But I will fight for my client and my client's rights and her ability to enjoy and use it. And I think we've done a substantial job in accommodating and conceding to a lot of different things. Yes, ma'am. Of course, it's your property.
Thank you very much.
I want one small sailboat. We're not even talking about a big sailboat. I couldn't handle a big sailboat. One small sailboat. It is not my intent to impede their ability to get their 3 boats that they have. Not my intent at all. In fact, my intent would be to put the sailboat on the other side, not even on the side that they're on. So I'm not looking for a battle here. I've been working on this for 3 years now. So you took over a year and a half ago. I've been working on this for 3 years. I just want one small sailboat out there.
So why won't you adapt to our plan? Did you sign the waiver for a 25 foot setback in 1994?
I have no idea.
That's not fair.
It's
30 years ago.
It's not judge and jury. Go ahead.
I just got a question for you. Tyler made a presentation about making a straight finger pier, and you wanted the L at the end. Can you explain what the L offers you as far as?
It is my intent to put the boat there on the end of the L.
Okay.
Not on the side. I don't know why it's on there. It is my intent to put it on the end of the pier.
Okay, but recognizing that would then stick over the riparian line on the north side of your property.
I didn't think that it did. I thought we talked about it.
Not if it's a small cell.
It has to be probably 32 feet or something.
Okay, so we're getting all over the board here. Let me see if we can bring this back. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just one question. In the hypothetical boats that are put on both party scenarios, they're small boats, and the bow or stern don't go over the end of the dock. And this is kind of a fantasy scenario. If just out of curiosity, I mean, if just a little bit forward of the midship, you could pretty much go dock a boat there, and then you would be able to bring the bow or stern considerably further out past the length of that dock. And even though she only wants a small sailboat, but in the future use of this dock, if years down the road somebody put a bigger boat in there and it was hanging off, that the inside of this dock is done.
So we have that. Look, we have an issue with this all the time. We have the applicant here. The applicant has made a representation that she's putting a small boat here. I have no reason to question that any more than I question how Sturgis is operating their dock, etc. So I'm assuming that, as we say in French, that is the emis, and I have no reason to question it. And if somebody buys the property, we have to deal with that in the future. Go ahead.
I would say that's correct in most of the ways we look at these things because we don't limit. But this is a direct impact to a person who already has a dock. So that is our job, I think, right now, is to look at what this could be. And because they don't have, it's such a wide canal, you could put a very big boat out there lengthwise if you wanted, if you could fit it, whatever you could be fit. So I think we do have to look at that. And part of our decision here is not just, it is looking for the future navigability of that area and what is already in. It is kind of like, sucks to say that they've already got their dock here, so yeah, you have to build around them. If they didn't have their dock there and you put in one first, then they would have to go around your dock. So by making this kick out, and possibly now what she said she might put it on the end of the dock, the face of the dock, that would actually impede it even more if you ended up putting it on the very end of the dock, the face of the dock. So I think we do have to look at that, in my opinion, because if someone put a 50-foot boat there, that would cut off that interior dock.
40 foot hanging off.
Period.
Chair.
So
please go ahead, Miranda. I'm sorry.
It seems like there's a bit of difference here. They're neighbors. Is there any way that each individual could go back to the table? Could we table this so they can negotiate this and maybe do better? Because we're going backwards and forwards.
Essentially, we tabled it last month so they could do this. And yes, that's why it's coming back.
Now they're seeing that it's getting a little bit deeper and it's costing each one of them money. So can they go back and sit down and try to come up with something to compromise, to agree? Because this is getting ugly in your neighbors. And you guys live in the same area. I think we can just go back and talk about it a little bit better, compromise, come up with something, we'll come back to mediator.
So,
is that a motion?
Yeah, so look, it's a very good point. It doesn't sound to me that's a motion, but we could talk about it in a second. My question is that, and we had this conversation the first time, it troubles me that these neighbors can't kiss and make up. It really bothers me that you've been living here forever. But I understand, now we're dug in, and it troubles me to no end. So the question that's in front of us, guys, and I'm going to pose it of the applicant and the primary objector. Is there an opportunity that if we sit down in a room, we can hash something out? Because if there isn't, we're going to vote on what's in front of us. But if there's an opportunity for you guys, and I'm not talking 6 months, I'm talking tomorrow or the next day to sit down and hash this out. Is that a possibility? Can anybody address this? You guys are neighbors. This drives me nuts. We've had the applicant tell us she's going to get a small boat. So with due respect to everybody else here, I have to take that at face value. She's not putting a 50-footer in there, and I guess if that happens, we'd have to deal with code. Can we work this out?
If that's not against code, if she puts a 50-foot.
Correct.
That's what I'm getting at.
Let's listen to Tyler.
Tried to work things out based on what we're hearing tonight, given the fact that we're just hearing the side of we're actually talking about. It is truly a 32-foot sailboat. Again, going back to our position, is that 32-foot sailboat can moor on the T-dock that's there now. And be in deeper water than what they're proposing with the extension. So what's the need for an extension? If they want an extension, we gave them an opportunity to add longer docks to what they were proposing and still give access to the docks.
The quick question is by right, the applicant.
The applicant could get a boat.
Correct. So what we're trying to
circumstance.
There is no extraordinary circumstance.
You're putting the boat 2.5 feet from the seawall, whereas your proposal, your existing dock, you're in deeper water than what you're proposing. It's insane.
But questioning the application on its face value, the application is a reasonable request. We have a unique situation where we're trying to preserve what Mr. Sturgis has done here, and I respect that. But on face value, the application is a valid application. Are you concerned about navigation, Mr. Moore? You mentioned that over there.
You know, knowing how the currents are in that area and prevailing conditions, and Courtney, especially during a boat show, when it's restricted even more, there are times when I would be, there's times when I would not be, prevailing conditions. Is it fair for either party to have to deal with that? Yeah. I don't know their confidence level. I can't assert that. I don't know if Dana knows their confidence level. He certainly can't assert that either. So, it's possible, yeah.
How about you, Courtney? You obviously know the water.
I agree with that.
The other thing I want to reiterate, when we talk about whether someone's going to put a bigger boat in, the reason why we say we don't look to the future of that, we're going with other sayings, because they are going to violate code by doing that. And we can't stop anyone from violating code. All we can do is enforce code. This does not violate code by having a larger boat.
So we're going to.
So what I'm saying is, we have to think that there could be a bigger boat there in the future, and there's nothing to do about it.
There
That's,
are
in my opinion,
remedies. There are remedies for that. But let me let Bob answer this right now.
Beaver section, maybe.
Yeah. No, you would need to go that route if you grant a waiver and it ends up getting reported and so on and so forth. And you could put limitations on the length of the vessel. You were hearing 34-foot vessel, monohull. You could put a limitation on that, and if they turn around and they try to go for something later, that could end up being a code violation in violation of the waiver that's being granted.
I don't know if that would be considered a concession, but I think, I don't want to speak for Ms. Daly, but I think we'd be quite okay if there was an addendum or whatever you guys call it, the addition to the approval that it will be subject to a vote less than something that we're all acceptable with. But, okay, so I think that would put us in a spot where we.
Well, I chose the number 34 feet because that's reflected on there. I think part of what my rationale would be is that whatever vessel goes on there does not extend any further out into the waterway than the edge of the dock.
What about B? Are you okay with B?
Well, if we're talking monohull, I think that's okay.
Putting the boat the other way. A cat's going to be 17 feet, 35 feet.
Well, no, I said monohull,
not a cat.
Yeah.
And I think we'd be okay agreeing to that concession that it would be a monohull less than 34 feet.
She wants to put the boat the other way on the T dock.
And not on the T dock. Because it would, I mean, you couldn't put a 30.
That's what was her intent. She just testified to.
I'm only
That
suggesting
testified.
one option.
Right.
Yeah.
But we could clarify those things.
Is it possible that y'all could get together and work those details out?
Well, I think
not for tonight. Because it sounds like we're pretty close.
Well, I think.
Or can John and Tyler do it if the neighbors can't?
Yeah.
You're both professionals.
For sure.
Exactly.
Ms. Daly, did you said something right?
I would personally have to tell you that he hasn't spoken to us for 35 years. So we're not going to be sitting down and having a conversation about this.
And I would argue.
That's what you have lawyers.
So I'm just asking for the right to build a dock that we're hoping meets the code. He's worked very hard to make that happen.
I think you have a sense of what the board is thinking. I'm hoping you and Tyler could get together and work out some details.
My obligation, guys, is to represent.
I understand
this, right? She has made a ton of accommodations so far. If we alter what we're doing, we've got to go redo this entire thing again, and Ms. Daly is not willing to do that.
John, don't you have to get permits?
No, I don't think so. No, not that. That is not.
I didn't hear that comment.
It's your vision. You have to reduce the dock 5 feet. The permits don't work like that.
Right, but going back.
You need to go back to the agencies to get a revised plan approved, stamped by the agency. Maybe the argument that there's going to be a further delay, it's a hardship, blah, blah, blah. But
to the extent.
my understanding that the city is going to require that the plan structure, so they're going to issue a building, they're going to have to match the county license and all the permits that he submitted.
To the extent that he's making that point, when we go to those entities and we're asked to shrink an existing footprint, not changing, not adding, not going over any other seagrass, not making any other changes than shrinking the existing footprint, it's a very easy process to go through versus changing to their design. So he may be right in the case we have to go to them and get it updated, but asking them to update it to shrink an existing structure, not sliding it, not moving it, not changing anything else over waterway.
And if you had to do that, we'd be willing to do that. The understanding that we're going to require the setback of here too. We're going to require a beam width. We're going to require the type of vessel, require the size of vessel, where the vessel is going to be moored, and anywhere where the vessel is not moored, there's going to be handrails. There's going to be open mooring signage. There's going to be those requirements. This is what the agencies are requiring.
We'd be okay with that, guys. Our goal is to move forward from tonight and not.
We would want a survey that actually shows where the structures are going to be,
in relationship to the property that matches the survey that they're using their application, which is thereby control point, which is not correct.
We differ in that regard, but we would agree to everyone else.
Your application doc says 62 feet, and your application says 66. It doesn't even match. You don't even show it.
Again,
So,
we would be okay with those. Our ask tonight, guys, is that the most valuable thing we have in this life is time. And I really want this lady to enjoy her doc. We've got to raise.
She's a doc right now. She can enjoy John. So that argument is on. Is on. You can put the vote there. He's on touchy ground right now.
We still want to get this done. So
let's be sensitive though, again, guys. That's a great comment, Ted, and she does have a doc. The bottom line is we've talked about again. We want to be fair to everybody. So I think that we are exhausting this ad nauseum. My read, and I'll toss this around for conversation. My read is number one, if we do bring this to a vote, that we do make it subject to restricting the vote to not exceed the however many foot we agreed on, whether it's just length and beam, however we do that. So I would suggest we put a restriction on the boat size as Bob had suggested. I would also suggest, since this keeps coming up, that if we do approve this, that our approval is subject to verification of the measurements as submitted by the applicant. That if the measurements that are proposed are not correct, that's not what we're approving. So if we bring this around and we approve it, it is subject to confirming that those measurements are accurate. So, however,
and the question I would have is if they are not accurate, are we going to see this application again in the future, subject to amended
how do we do
measurements?
that?
Because I never want to see this.
We're going forward on quick thing.
Bob, just one quick thing. I don't know.
Please.
Talking to you guys, do you want us making those decisions right now at this board, or would you like to confirm with you guys and try to come up with something that you think is right? A beam width, a length.
We're okay with what's been discussed. We would like you guys to make that decision tonight.
So maximum size not exceeding 34 feet. Am I correct?
I'm just asking because, like,
you want to
have to have a beam because we can't be in the setback.
So beam not exceeding what?
The boat has to be on the T dock. Well, the setback issue would be a code violation regardless.
Mr. Swindell, voice of reason here?
Well, you reminds me early in my business life. I was ticked off by another business person, and I called my attorney and I said, "Well, let's just sue him." My attorney said, "Bob, I can't. I have a relationship with that company as well." He said, "Sometimes good people just get sideways, and they need to talk it through." Nancy and Paul Bailey have done so much for this community. The Sturgis family is a prominent family as well. You guys are neighbors. The reason I made the motion to the table last month was to try to make some consensus here. And instead of us negotiating this on the fly, I think it'd be a lot better, John, for you and Tyler to figure out what should we include in this, so it's fair to both parties. But we talked about it at the very beginning. Our role here is safety is a big part of this, and I think we're impacting neighbors safe coming in and out of their existing docks. I would really prefer to see you guys think this through, come up with a plan that makes sense for both parties, and we can vote on something we have confidence in. Trying to amend this on the fly, I think, is a mistake.
And if we make a motion to table this,
Motion.
Motion.
Second. Can I ask a question?
Wait, that's a non-argument. That's a non-debatable motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Who's the second from? Mr. Swindell? We have a motion in front of us to table this. I want to be real sensitive to this, guy. Just 1 second. I want to be sensitive to this. I appreciate everything that's been said. Miss Daly, Mr. Sturgis, we're not getting younger. And I say that because I know you want to use your sailboat. Mr. Sturgis and his wife aren't getting younger. This craziness of banging our heads against, and I'm sorry you haven't spoken 35 years. I mean, you could pass poop on mustard back and forth between each other. This is silly, but it's not our role. So if there is any opportunity, as Bob Swindell said, instead of us agreeing to 34 feet and 10 feet beam or 12-foot beam, do you want to talk about it? I mean, that means, unfortunately, they would have to be brought back to us in February. Am I correct, Bob?
Yes. I also want to raise a point that a motion to table is not a debatable motion.
Right.
correct. Robert's Rules of Order requires it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, there's either a point of information.
I hear you.
Is there a difference between a table and a rejection
I'm
with
just trying to
regard to
understand.
refiling?
If
A
you
denial.
If you chose another route, it would be denial without prejudice.
A denial with is there a difference between a denial without prejudice and a table as far
Yes,
as free
because I
going
think
forward?
that the purpose of the table is for the two parties to get together and figure out length, beam, so on and so forth.
Okay.
That's the way. That's So what I. We have a motion. We need to vote on it, and I will say before we vote on it, Ms. Daly, Mr. Sturgis, everybody involved. This is not dragging. The amount of attention this has garnered from the board, from the city, from people, we are really respectful of you. As Mr. Swindell said, you are highly respected members of this community, and we'd like to see if we bridge the gap. And I hate to say this, but we're going to vote on this, and my hope is if this goes this way, that it comes back, that it's nothing more than thank you for bringing it in front of us, and we sign off on it. But go ahead.
Attorney Duffel, would it be a motion to defer to next month's meeting?
No, motion table.
Table. Okay.
So with that, we're going to have a roll call vote.
Affirmative vote is the table.
So, Mrs. Ware, I just want to make sure I have this correct for the record. Mrs. Ware, you're making a motion to table the request for the variance for 401 Idlewild Drive.
We have a second from Mr. Swindell.
Thank you. One moment. Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Morley,
Yes.
Mr. Swindell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ware, yes. Mr. Roboski,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
No.
Mr. Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. Coburn,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Mr. Baycott,
Yes.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Whitten,
Yes.
motion passes.
So thank you all very much. If there's any way whatsoever, Ms. Daly, Mr. Sturgis, anybody else involved, that we can facilitate conversation, help you anyway, as long as we're obviously not getting thrown into sunshine jail or anything like that, please reach out. And I wish you the best, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Thank you all. So that's going to bring us, guys, thanks. I know everybody needs a breather. I know we're all tired. Let me move quickly here. We talked about, our next issue was discussion charting our course. We talked about it. You have a pamphlet. I'd sure appreciate it if you kind of look at things that are important to you, however you wish to deal with it. Send comments to Andrew, who will pick it up next month. For that, I thank you, because we hope to accomplish a great deal. That's going to bring us to Marco with communication from the bridge. You better keep it short, Marco.
Sorry, guys, keeping it short.
Oh, no.
Just updating sewage pump valve festival. Looks like we're going to be going to commission in February for the actual award. Living seawall permit fee assistance program. Next month. I'll be doing a presentation on that for you guys with some feedback. Generally, though, the idea is for a 100% rebate or discount, however you want to phrase it. If a property owner is installing a living seawall on their property versus a standard seawall, then the city would cover the permit fees, 100% of the permit fees. So hopefully incentivizing the use of more living seawalls throughout the city. Life jacket loaner station. I think Steve mentioned it last meeting. He brought the life jackets. We're creating a life jacket loaner station, so if boaters need a life jacket, or paddle boarders, kayakers, whoever's in need of a life jacket, they can borrow one from the city at no charge. I've also got reached out to by Memorial Hospital. They have a grant where they also are installing life jacket loaner stations. They want to add a second life jacket loaner station in the city, so we're working. They want to do that one specifically at a boat ramp. And that's their first time doing it. So we're exploring locations for them to install that loaner station. I want to specifically thank Lewis and Andrew and the Marine Facilities team because a couple months ago we had a 35-foot vessel that sank at Riverland Woods or Lauderdale Isles Landing. through a collaborative effort of many departments and the authorization of the city manager to do anything possible to get the boat removed that same day. We were able to get the vessel removed that same day. It took a mountain to move a mountain to get it done. It also cost a mountain of money. It was $11,500 to remove that boat. But through the work of Lewis and Andrew, we were able to get the cost of that removal reimbursed to the city through Broward County through the BBIP program. So I thank you guys for that. We have our third mangrove planting coming up February 28th at New River Middle School at 12:30. So if anyone wants to come out, or only one of you, or Sunshine Jail. But yeah, third mangrove planting, we'll be planting around 75 mangroves at New River Middle. And lastly, the Eden Perry Life Ring Initiative. The city had previously installed 10 life rings throughout the city. Through all of our efforts, we identified 7 additional locations, and those 7 additional locations have been installed. So, total of now 18 really life rings throughout the city, specifically through the library, Eden Perry Life Ring Initiative.
Now, public property or private property?
Public. 12:30, and they're all on public property. They're mostly at parks like Abiaca Park.
That's the mangrove planting is 12:30.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So
thank you, Mark.
With no ladders.
No ladders yet.
No ladders. Keep you alive to float down the river.
So that is something that you may want to bring up on
You're alive.
Charging waters this year.
So
that's a
like
recommendation that you guys would have to make to the commission as far as adding that as an ordinance.
But we have ladders throughout the city at all of our public docks.
Yeah, we're talking about
just so you know, and we have additional.
You just float down till you get to another city.
Like from the front.
You got a life ring to get there. Grab a mangrove.
And a life jacket.
FWC life jackets. So now we have.
Okay, so now we're getting punch drunk. So let me move forward. I want to take a second because the guy who's sitting here looks like he's taking notes, guys. Todd Haichu. Todd Haichu is the environmental compliance manager from the city. Todd came to visit. You do not have to speak because Todd said he didn't want to speak. But so Nancy Gassman kind of introduced me to Todd off record as we were exploring Mr. Mitchell, the North Forest, etc. This where. And so we talked with Todd about a number of issues up there. We're going to work with him on some issues. Again, we have some thoughts to share, but we have some big challenges in front of us.
Sure, we're here to help solve those challenges and collaborate. My new role is Deputy Public Works.
Oops. Yeah, Deputy what?
And Marco works for us. Marco and I work closely together. A little background on me, I started my career sitting in Florida in 1997. 3 kids ago, 50-pound glider. Left for a few years. They came back in 09 as environmental compliance manager. So happy to be attending more meetings and supporting Marco's initiative and I think some in the room throughout dealing with meetings and conversations. So looking forward to all the great work we're all doing together and move the city forward to better, cleaner, safe water.
So thank you very much. So again, it's along the avenue of just reach out. You know, Todd's here, and he just said the same thing. I'm going to come to future meetings. We don't have to find the guys here; they're here for us. So it means a great deal. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Mitchell, Ms. Ware, this is somebody that we work with very closely. Todd understands. I talked to him about a potential Superfund site down there. That ain't going to happen, but we're working on that. Again, rest assured, this is not on cruise control. We're working very aggressively on that. Thank you again, Todd. So that brings us to, we're going to move forward from charting our course. Again, I've asked you to follow with Andrew offline. That brings us to 1409 Southwest 17th Street. Now, I'm going to toss this to Mr. Gunkel to explain how we're here and why we're here. So, if you would.
Yeah, Ted Morley has filed a motion to reconsider. A little bit of the background on this is we had 2 finger piers. The easternmost finger pier measured 36.6 feet, which when you look at the submerged lands of 77.1 and then 63.8 for the Crevalle Canal, that would work out to an extension of only 25.9%. Probably something that the board would have granted an approval on if that were the only issue. And that's the reason why a motion to reconsider is being made. The other one was the westernmost one at 58.6 feet. What the board needs to do tonight is to either accept or reject, adopt the motion to reconsider. Then it'll be brought back the following month for you to figure out exactly how to piece this together versus the east and the west docks. So we are you Ryan?
Yes, Ryan Abrams. So one question about what you just said, if I might. So we are not voting to recommend approval or not. We're voting to reconsider.
You're voting on a motion to reconsider. Vote it up or down.
And if that happens, then it comes back to us next month.
That is correct. Okay.
And everyone gets notified. We start with public testimony again.
No.
I have a question. If we are going I'm sorry.
So, no, we've already heard the testimony. Okay. What would happen next, whether we deny or whether we approve, it goes to the city commission. That's where everybody will be able to address the commission.
But we would have whoever's putting in the doc give us a brief again, correct? Or no?
No.
We're just considering off of.
Yes.
So there's no amendments to that? There have been no amendments to the plan?
It's the same plan. Correct. It's the same plan.
I'm sorry?
It is the same plan. 36.
Right,
36.6 feet on the east and 58.6 feet on the west, which exceeds the 30% limitation.
So the asking us to, will we change our mind?
No, that's not the question. Whether or not we're going to reconsider, whether or not
And
we're
then
going to bring it back.
And then if we rejected it again with no new information and no new changes, and that
but wait, if we reconsider, then we can discuss it as a board, and then say, hey, we want to keep this pier, not that pier, take this pier down,
those are among
and say if we would pass this with the recommendation that both piers be 36 feet.
That's one possibility.
Something like that. Okay, cool.
So the reason I brought the motion for reconsideration forward, if you recall, I was the writer of, or the presenter of the motion originally to deny the request. That was due in part because the applicant at that point was not willing to make any modifications, any conversations, or any compromises.
We gave an option.
We gave an option during that meeting, and the applicant said no.
They said no, right?
So, but this is looking at this. Again, going back to my earlier statement, we're trying to get access to the waterway for everybody while making sure we don't impede access to the water for anybody. This is an opportunity for the applicant to perhaps reconsider their presentation.
But
if we give them the opportunity, not tonight.
No, I meant, but we reconsider next month. They will be getting it.
Next month, if I'm correct, we can stipulate some options for them as a means of moving forward for them.
They won't be.
So it's not a yay or nay. It's a yay with this stipulation, or it's just a blanket no.
Okay,
it's giving them another bite of the apple, perhaps for us to come up with a little more alternative options for them.
So if I'm right, we could say no, say yes, table this so that they can, with these stipulations, that they want to come in front of us, or give stipulations that we want and say yes or no.
Next month.
Next month. Okay.
All you're doing is giving the applicant an opportunity to represent.
We're not.
Sorry,
But we're not.
For us to rediscuss it.
Right. Well, and also to correct what I think, I really don't think that the board, under ordinary metrics, would have voted to deny the 36.6.
We asked if they would separate. We asked if they would separate the two docs out of the application, and the applicant said no. So we had no choice at that point but to go.
Why won't they submit a new application? We just leave it with the way it is. We don't reconsider it. We denied it. So now they'd have to resubmit and reapply to submitting a new thing for us to consider.
The other thing is,
if they don't submit anything else, then we're doing the work for them.
Can I ask why they can't present to us and come back if we're reconsidering? Wouldn't we want to say, hey, does your position still stand?
The hearing is concluded. It's now up to the board to make a decision. Now,
but
to your point, one of the things we're trying to accomplish here is to send a proper record to the city commission. The proper record would have otherwise approved the 36.6.
Because it's in keeping with other structures in the area as well. And I don't believe that the overarching arguments of the community were objecting to that. They're objecting to the other larger here. Right, correct. The fact that they were not want to separate is what kind of led us to this point.
But shouldn't they just resubmit and then we'd approve the.
That requires a limited process, right?
That is correct. But suffice it to say that I suspect Mr. Abrams and I will be in conversation.
This is the easier route for both parties, for us and them.
And then we do the work.
I'm not going to go into crazy detail here. Ryan Abrams, I'm an attorney. I was recently hired by the owners. What's that?
You get a lot of money, basically.
My Jewish brethren, what can I say? It's been a little bit entertaining at times, so I'll chalk that up to.
Excuse me, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Ryan Abrams.
Thank you.
Yes, and appreciate that a motion was made. I thank the board member for doing that. We understand the motion is also an opportunity for a possible amendment to the order. And I'm not sure if there's going to be opportunity once there's discussion for the board to vote on reopening for the possibility of additional discussion. I think it would be worthwhile to this board. I just want to say I took note of what's on the whiteboard. There's a goal about clarifying measurements and how the measurements are done, whether they're done from the wet face of seawall, whether it's from the property line. And I believe I have a solution for you that's grounded in the current language of the code, and I look forward to discussing that at the next meeting. So, and Bob and I are also discussing that as well. So that's still ongoing, but look forward to seeing you at the next one. Just wanted to say.
Mr. Moore. So, I mean, at this point, all we're voting on tonight is as a board, I've made a motion for reconsideration and engaged in discussion with the board on this subject. Now, open to the public. That conversation has concluded. We've got all the input we need from the public on this. I think we're all pretty clear on their positions. It's simply, do we as a board want to give the applicant an opportunity for us to look at this and discuss this and come up with a possible solution that is in keeping with the area and other.
So, point of information: the applicant would not be able to offer us any new information.
No, it's up to us.
So, so when you said that giving the applicant an opportunity, we would not be giving the applicant an
We
opportunity.
need the applicant opportunity to say, yeah, that we like that. We'll accept that.
And
As you saw tonight,
Bob, would they be able to? Would they have to accept it if we came up with a modification? No, they can't.
They don't have to.
But they can. They could. So they do give input then.
Well, just on that particular issue, not reweighing all the evidence.
Okay.
Just
when they said
it's
you
not
couldn't give input.
rehashing all the evidence.
Right.
So the,
Mr. Moore.
my question is a very practical question. Why would we not allow this to move forward? Why would we not be courteous enough to reconsider? Why would you have an issue with that you could help educate us on, Bob? I appreciate that.
I guess I didn't quite understand the direction you were coming from. It seems to me the most appropriate course of action at this point is to adopt the motion to reconsider.
Yeah. I mean, it's reasonable because one of our goals, again, is to be fair to everyone. We're not passing judgment on the application. We're simply saying, let's give them another shot for us to talk about this and see if the applicant will be willing to accept what we propose. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The semantics, it's so hard.
Yeah, and I think this is where we kind of lost track because the notion was would you accept this? And I think the board kind of figured when they said, no, okay, we're going to go out to the whole thing. We don't need to negotiate with them.
Right.
We have the ability to, like on that last one, to put a condition in there, limit the sailboat to monohull sailboat to 34 feet.
Somebody have a motion, please?
We already have one. We have a second.
But can you clarify for the record? I couldn't hear you more.
It's a motion to reconsider the 1409 Southwest 17th Street application.
We have a second on that already?
Mr. Lynch, second.
Mr. Lynch. Okay.
Roll call vote.
Yes, one moment. Okay. Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
No.
Mr. Morley,
Yes.
Mrs. Ware, Mr. Swindell,
Yes.
Mr. Roboski,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. Colbert,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Mr. Bakoff,
Yes.
Mr. Washington.
Goodness for you. Your experience.
Yes.
Trying to make it
fair for
So that does pass, guys. So thank you very much. I think again, you're not passing judgment on the waiver. All you're asking for is to again give these folks another opportunity for us to review, etc. So for that, I thank you, and I thank you for Bob for exposing us to something.
in the effort of kindness, then it seems to me that you would let the public speak again too. In your effort of kindness to them, you should extend it also to the people and notify them again, since this is all kind of starting over again. Then maybe some people couldn't make it that exact night. They wanted to be here.
Thank
And
you.
if we're all being
starting
kind,
all over again, it's finishing it off.
well, if we're all being kind, if that's the theme of the night, which I kind of like, let's let them talk.
So we're going to do our Mr. and Sierra. We always appreciate your views. With that said, a nice kumbaya to everybody. Mr. Mitchell, you have a question first.
Yes, for Attorney Johnson. Shouldn't there be something that was not discoverable or something new that they have to?
What you're referring to, you're gonna wander on back a number of years ago when you were on the board of justice.
Exactly.
That was a motion for rehearing when there had to be some new evidence that wasn't otherwise discoverable. No, this is an entirely different process. Motion to reconsider. A motion to reconsider can be made by anybody who votes on the prevailing side.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you all. This was a great meeting. I thank everybody for participation, for staying. Motion to adjourn. A motion to adjourn. Mr. Morley, second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.